What is going on, guys? Ultra back with the Laydown podcast. Of course, I'm joined by Lenny B, the man in a new relationship. Uh,
It's
I
not
say
even that, bro. What are you even talking
I
about?
say relationship because he went up and he talked to a girl for 5 minutes. It sounds like, but
No, it was like 30 minutes, bro.
okay, 30 minutes. See ya, Lenny.
Straight. It was like straight, okay?
I'd like to believe that my influence has been getting to him, so he's become more
No.
smooth.
Well,
Um,
yeah, fine. We'll go
I
with
appreciate it.
sure.
No, it's fine. We'll go over to California once and we'll see you guys. But regardless, relationship or not, we are going to break down, basically recap the NFL season for every team except the Bengals and Rams because we did that last week, and kind of address the state of the franchise, I guess, and kind
It's
of
like
where.
the press conference the coach does every single
Yeah,
year.
state of the
State of the
I'll
franchise.
name this state of the franchise. That's what I'm gonna
State, I
name.
think I like that. The state of the franchise. And then we'll just put
Okay.
like whatever divisions we're doing. That's good.
All right.
I like
So
that.
we're starting off with the AFC North. Let's go to the second place team this year, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The
Of course, the Pittsburgh
Stellars.
Steelers. This was Big Ben's last year. He is a future Hall of Famer, even though that's gotten a little bit of controversy as of late because of the whole Hall of Fame stuff now. But Ben will
What
make
do you
it.
mean? Like
Yeah,
people don't think
I've
he's a
just
Hall of
seen a lot
Famer?
of people say, "Oh, like if you're saying Stafford's not a Hall of Famer because he only has a ring, but he doesn't have any like MVPs or All Pros, how can you say Ben is a Hall of Famer?" But stuff like that.
Like okay, just real
Ben's
quick, I
first
just
of all, I'll
say
say Ben's won two. Ben's had more MVP caliber seasons than Stafford, and he's played longer.
just the proven success for me.
Yeah.
I think it's just as simple as the proven success. He's been
And
to three
look, at
Super
the end
Bowls.
of
I
the
mean,
day,
come on.
like realistically, given the current Hall of Fame standards and given the numbers these guys are going to put up, real side rant here. Ben, Stafford, Rivers, Ryan, Eli, they're all going to get in, like
Yeah,
eventually.
even like if it's to the point where they're dead and then they put them in like late, like they did with Ken Stabler and
I,
stuff. Like they'll get
but
in eventually.
they'll get if Ken Stabler gets in, like they're all going to get in, unless
Yeah,
Stafford doesn't do anything for the rest of his career.
he just
They're
like
all going
gets
to get in.
injured or something and just
So
yeah. Okay,
yeah, if
yeah.
Stafford were, if he plays another 3-4 years, he'll get in. The numbers at a certain point are just going to get to too high to where you can't deny it anymore.
Yeah.
Even adjusting for era. So yeah,
So
side
the
rant with the Hall of Fame
Stellars.
there, but the
What was
Steelers, of course.
their thing this year? What was like the vibe? What with the Steelers this year? What was like
So
the
I,
thing?
I always kind of thought entering the offseason this was a borderline playoff team. I don't think I think I predicted I had the Ravens in for like the whole offseason, and
Until
then
they got
I
injured.
moved them out like the last like 3 days because they just got a ton of injuries.
Hmm.
I moved Miami in. Pittsburgh ended up making it. Pittsburgh was always like that eighth or ninth team for me though. Um, uh, this season, I don't think they were very good, to be honest. I know they made the playoffs, but they were 12th in the AFC in point differential, even though they had the seventh best record, or the seventh seed. They started off 1-3. If you remember, everybody was saying, "Oh, Big Ben's done," and they were right.
Hmm.
But
Well, I don't think anyone was arguing whether or not he was done or not. Maybe like some really diehard
then
Pittsburgh
they
fans. But
remember they won all these like they beat Geno Smith in overtime.
oh my
They
god, I
they
forgot about
beat
that
the
game.
Bears because the refs made like 15 calls on the last drive against the Bears. They tied with Tim Boyle, right? Or was it Jared Goff in that game? I don't even remember. They
It
tied with
was
the
it
Detroit
was
Lions.
Jared Goff. I watched the game. It was Jared Goff. It was actually the most entertaining game I think I've ever watched in my life. It was just the they were. I don't think I've ever seen two teams just like violently just give the game away and just keep doing it like so consistently throughout the
They
whole game.
got
It was
they
ridiculous.
got crushed by Cincinnati 41-10 in week 12. They won a lot of close games. Like they beat Baltimore because of a 2-point conversion. I don't know if you remember that. That was late in the
I
year.
do. That was Tyler Huntley, right? That was when he was playing.
Um, They beat Tennessee on like the last play of the game too. That was a really close game. They did get a little bit better, I think, throughout the year, but they're still like you see them play Kansas City twice, and you're like, whoa, They're not ready for that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, 36-10 and 42-21 were the scores in those games. So I kind of felt like the Steelers, this was the best possible scenario for them in their last year. Nobody was thinking about them as a Super Bowl contender because they weren't. I think, they made the playoffs. They gave the Chiefs like a little bit of a fight for like a quarter and a half, I guess.
TJ Watt made it
T-
close.
T- 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 TJ Watt made a couple plays, which that's kind of the story of the season.
Mhm.
But this
Made a
team
couple. That's
just,
the
I think
understatement.
they're right now in a transition phase. They lost Ben Roethlisberger now. Mike
Hmm.
Tomlin's the head coach going forward. This is now his team fully. It's not his and Ben's team or his and Ben's and AB's team or his and Bell's team, whatever. It's just Tomlin's team now. I think moving forward, they're in an interesting spot because what do you the quarterback position's interesting. I don't
Hmm.
think they've got a guy on the roster currently that can replace Ben. Uh,
Unless what Big Ben was saying about Dwayne Haskins comes true.
no, he's just saying that to, yeah, he's just saying that 'cause he wants
I
to be
remember he
confused
said that like really
between.
early in the season. I'm like, there's
Um,
no way. Oh, there's
I
no
would
way.
assume they either draft somebody or they pick up like a Jameis Winston, Jimmy Garoppolo type in the offseason.
Mm,
I overall though with this team, like I don't think their offensive line's good. I think it kind of stinks to be honest.
hmm.
They've got a couple of that Dotson kid's good, but outside of that, no. They've got good weapons. Like I think Najee Harris is pretty decent. I think Johnson's good. I think Claypool, when he's not being an idiot, is good. That Freiermuth kid at tight end actually was probably the second best rookie tight
He
end.
was clutch this year,
Yeah, he was
man.
clutch for them.
He was clutch.
Um, and defensively, I think they're regressing. I think it's a lot of just TJ Watt and Cameron Hayward brilliance bailing them out now. Minka Fitzpatrick seemed to take a bit of a step back this year. I don't know what that reason
I
for.
think it was because he is being used a lot more in
He's still a very good
like
player.
press coverage. I saw him a lot more this
And
year
part of it
being
also,
like
Lenny, is I
one-on-ones.
think the secondary in general is not very talented outside of him.
Yes, he is being asked to literally cover every
The
single
the
person.
linebackers are bad. The pass rush is
Whoa! I wouldn't
declining.
say it's bad. I would say
Bro,
it's
Devin,
regressed
did you
from.
watch Devin Bush this year?
Yes, I know he was bad.
He
They
was
had
the
that
worst
one guy,
No, Lenny, he
Joe
was
Schobert.
legitimately
Joe
like
Schobert.
Joe Schobert wasn't that good either though.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They were bad this year. The
They were okay. Fair. They
pass
were
rush
bad
is
this year.
good, but the run defense is declining.
Wait, no. TJ Watt counts as a backer. You can't do that.
I guess the corner position is a huge question mark. They kind of feast corner wise, like they can hold their own against weak pass offenses, but whenever they're facing a Chiefs pass offense, it's just like you can't do anything.
No,
I
they
think
don't.
this team, they're just kind of in a transition phase this year. Like I wouldn't be if I'm a Steelers fan. Of course, I'm used to winning, and you want to keep that winning season streak or that non-losing season streak alive under Tomlin because that's a really impressive record. Regardless of my opinions of Tomlin, that's an impressive thing. Not even Belichick's done it, but I don't know, man. I just feel like this team kind of in a transition phase right now. And I don't see them really contending for much next season as of today. Obviously, in the next, 6, almost 7 months, a lot can change. But
Hmm. And we saw it with the Bengals this year. You never know. But when I looked at the Steelers this year, I saw a team that just was fundamentally flawed. They didn't have necessarily a quarterback that could just like ball out. They just didn't have that guy. In a league where you just need to be able to pass, they didn't have that guy. He couldn't throw past 10 yards like almost every single game. I mean, I think
oh,
when you
Lenny,
watch.
one thing quickly before. I'm sorry
Okay,
to interrupt, but Matt
no, it's fine.
Canada has to go.
Oh yeah, no. Has he not been fired yet? I figured he
I
would have
think
been.
he may have been. I haven't checked,
Here, check it
but
out real quick.
he better have been at least.
But yeah, I see a young core
No,
that
he's still
can be
there.
good. What? He's still? Oh my god, this freaking Mike Tomlin, bro. Okay, so yeah, I see a young core that can be good. I see like aspects of the team because I just looked it up. I don't know if this is true or not, but I looked at it says $41.9 million under the cap space right now. So I think they should be able to have like spots where they can improve their roster. It's just the quarterback position right now. I don't know if there's a lot of quarterbacks that like. I don't know if they want to trade for one because they
I
haven't
don't
been
know.
a
I don't know if
team
they'll
that's
get a
done that.
Wilson or a Rodgers
They're not like
necessarily.
a team that does that. You know what I mean?
No, they don't strike me. And I
They like
also feel like I don't know if they necessarily want to play in Pittsburgh.
no, that's also
I
true.
mean,
They
I could honestly, I could see them going for Rod. I don't think Wilson would want to play there. I could see them getting Rodgers, but I feel like if Rodgers goes somewhere, it's more likely to be Denver than it is Pittsburgh, just
they
because they're
kind
like
of
the
they like
links.
building from the draft. They don't
Yeah,
like free agency that much.
there's links, and there's also the Peyton factor to it. It's he's seen it work before.
Kevin
So
Colbert, their GM retired, so we might see a little bit of shift in that. They might get aggressive this free agency period because they're usually not that aggressive. They're either re-signing the core that they have or letting them go and just rebuilding through the draft. When's the last time they traded like a first round pick? Like
I don't even
Minka
remember.
Fitzpatrick. Minka Fitzpatrick was the last time something like that
Yeah,
happened, right?
I think so.
2019. They just don't do that. That's just not their thing.
And they
Mike
only did
Tomlin's a
that because
really good
Miami was
coach.
tanking too.
Mike Tomlin's a good coach. I'm not gonna be like the Steelers are terrible because they're not. They have a lot of talented players, but there's just a lot of holes right now that they need to fix. And quarterback, O line, and corner are three of the most important positions in football, in my opinion. And they need to figure that out if they want to go anywhere near the playoffs next year. They don't have their Big Ben anymore. They don't even have a quarterback that I think should be starting on their roster. So those are the things that I think they need to look out in free agency, and those are the things that ultimately held them back this season. Except for a little bit of Big Ben just being, I don't know if I'd say clutch, but you could tell that his veteran presence definitely helped the team in
They won a lot
aspects.
of they like be honest, they won a lot of close games, like the
They
Titans
did,
game, the
but it's
Ravens,
not like he
both
played
Ravens
like
games.
amazing. It's not like he played great.
Ben was fairly clutch actually at the end of the games. As bad as he was fairly clutch.
He was like, I'm gonna just like sit on my lawn chair for 3 quarters, and then I'm just gonna ball out in the last quarter, like show a little bit of Big Ben magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's about it. What do you think their like projected win total would be right now if you were just to guess based on what
It's
they're
way
doing?
too early. I'd set it at like 7. I'm not very high on this
7.
team. I mean, obviously you got to go. There's wins to go around here, but like I just don't think this team's going to be. I think it's a transition year in Pittsburgh. I'm not saying they're screwed in the future because I think they can get back to being good again, quite soon actually. But I don't think it's this year.
And then one more question. We're gonna do this with all the teams. Was this a good, bad, or middle year for this team? Is this like a step in the right direction? Is this a step back from
I'll
what they
just say
wanted,
it's
or is
kind of
this just
middle,
mid?
like kind of what you
Mid?
would have expected out of them. They kind of achieved. So
They're in the direction we thought they would be without Big Ben,
yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
All
Okay,
right,
so
Lenny.
Ravens are next.
No, actually,
Oh,
the Cleveland
bro.
Browns entered the
Oh
season
man,
coming off their first playoff appearance in forever. They beat the aforementioned Pittsburgh Steelers. They were eighth in Super Bowl odds entering the season,
and the Bengals are 30th. Oh jeez.
and they went 8-9. It
Oh.
was, I think, when you say how would we see the season, pretty much a disaster.
Yeah, this is the worst case scenario for anybody involved
Um,
in the Browns.
Now here's
Did
the
anybody
interesting.
have a good year? Did anybody besides Miles Garrett? Did anybody have like a good year?
Their offensive line when they were healthy did.
But they
Nick
weren't even
Chubb
like
did.
healthy though. They were barely
I
healthy.
think
Nick Chubb
Nick
wasn't
Chubb
even
in some of
healthy.
these games really proved he's a stud. Like I was,
We've
I love.
known that though. To be
We've
fair, he
known
was.
that.
Yeah.
I've known that for a while, but like he showed it again. Even when the line's injured, he can produce. So he went up in my mind. Baker did not have. Baker was a
Yeah.
disaster.
Just point blank, Baker in the receiving core was the problem this year. I look at this roster. I see talent everywhere.
There's clear
We're
talent
just
here.
saying with OBJ there. Um, I don't know. I don't know what happened to the receiving core this year, but it was so clearly worse than anything anyone would have thought. It just felt like Jarvis Landry wasn't getting consistently open. OBJ and Baker Mayfield had like the worst connection, bro. I
Even
don't know
after
what that was
Odell
about.
like got left too, the receivers were bad too.
Exactly. I don't know what
I think they got to go
forced this.
heavy. They got to go heavy in free agency. May have to go heavy in the draft as well. It's every year there's a deep wide receiver class. It feels like, but they gotta address that need. I like
Mhm.
their GM. I think Andrew Berry's good when it comes to addressing holes. We saw him do it last year with the defense. He saw, okay, our offense is actually pretty talented. Our defense needs some work, specifically in the secondary. Did that, and they actually had one of the better secondaries in the league this year.
They did.
I
I
look
like
at
the
this
secondary.
team. I don't think it's a complete disaster going forward. Now, I think Baker Mayfield's coming back at quarterback. I'm not 100% sure. I'm like 70 to 75% sure of that.
I'm
I
like I'm pretty
personally,
sure.
I don't think you can win a Super. I don't. I still am not sure if Baker Mayfield is a quarterback, and this year lowered my opinion of him drastically.
Hmm.
He was hurt. I'll give him that, and he still does have some talent, but like I don't know. I'm not a fan of like him as a I don't know what it is about him. He just seems
He's
cocky
really cocky. He's really cocky.
and he doesn't seem to like I don't know, maybe it's in all the ads he is. I just look at it and I'm like, all right, so you're gonna have to be playing Joe Burrow twice a year and Lamar Jackson twice a year. And you're going into these games with Baker Mayfield. It's like, come on, man. I just feel like you're outgunned at that point. And they're gonna have to address receiver, but like the running back position's fine. Tight ends, I mean,
I
Hoopers,
think fine might
whatever.
be a little bit of an understatement. They have Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb.
Yeah, I'm just kind of generally like what they don't need
Yeah,
to
yeah,
address.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Offensive line,
They have been locked
defense.
up
They
for a
could
while.
they could use some like interior, like they could use some more run defense and some maybe another pass rusher next to Garrett. But
I think Jadeveon Clowney did a good job this year.
yeah, Clowney was pretty good.
He was
The
definitely
the
a positive.
secondary I think is honestly fine, like as it is.
Yeah, yeah. I think they were put in bad positions a lot of the time by the offense just being terrible, honestly. But like whenever I watched them, they played fundamentally well. It felt like they did a good job just in general covering anyone they played. It didn't feel like they were just kind of running around. You know what I mean? Yeah, like with the
Yeah,
Raiders,
I know what
I
you're
felt
talking
like
about.
that. It feels like sometimes with these terrible or just not good secondaries, they just kind of like I don't know, like it's hard to explain. They're gonna just like do things. I don't know. It's hard to explain. The Browns
As a
do good
Falcons and
things.
Raiders and Niners fan, we know what it's like. So
Yes, we know what it's like when our corners are running around like chickens with their head cuts off. So,
I mean,
with the
Lenny had to
Browns,
put up with Damon Arnett.
yes, I had for he was a starter by the way, like the whole season. But yeah, I think with the Browns, this season was definitely like a sucker punch. You know, like I think Browns fans after last season were like, "Oh man, we're back. We're finally like a good team." And then you're like, "Oh wait, we're the Browns again." You
It
know,
was a
like
lot
we're
like
the
2019, just a little bit better because the team was better.
yeah. The hype was there, OBJ
Yeah, there was
hype.
so
I
much
mean,
hype, and like they're
Baker
just like,
Mayfield fell off. Okay, so I think ultimately this is a really
get based on
talented
trend,
team
Baker Mayfield's going to be good next year, and they're going to be good next year. And it's just going
based
to be
on the
like this.
trends. That is
Yeah,
true. I mean, I don't know if he was good last year. He kind of was like good for half the year, like amazing for half the
compared
year,
to
and
this year,
terrible
he
for the last.
was.
Oh no, no, that's not even a question. But I feel like if any team, uh, unless you're just like 2016 or 2015 Broncos, if you don't have a quarterback who's producing, who's playing terrible, by the way, which he did play terrible, and you don't have a receiving core that's producing, you're at best going to have an average record. And I just think that's what happened to the Browns this year. Uh, they have talent everywhere, it feels like, and they have very minor flaws where they do have flaws, but they had it in arguably the two most valuable position groups in football, the receiving core and the quarterback. Regardless of if Baker Mayfield's that guy or not, he didn't play good this year, and we can't not argue that. And I think that's ultimately why they ended up disappointing the way they did.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think I don't think it's a disaster going forward, but this year was a disaster.
Yeah, this is like as far down as you can go. I don't think it's going to get worse for any
I think
other
it gets
team that
better
we could
before
play.
it gets worse.
For in the free agency, what do you think they should be doing? What is like the goal this
Yeah,
free
so I
agency?
kind of went over it. Receiver, receiver,
Oh
receiver.
yeah, in the draft you said in the draft with the receivers.
And then I think also run defense could be an ad as well.
Okay. All right. You want to
And
go with the
maybe some more
Ravens
pass
now?
rush. Pass rush never hurts.
It never does. It never does hurt.
Okay, moving on to the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens were seventh in Super Bowl odds entering the year, which honestly
Oh,
seemed high
Jesus.
to me, considering all the injuries they had. But this team, you got to give them credit. They were 8-3 at the end of November. They were the number
That's
one seed in the
crazy.
AFC.
That's
This
crazy.
was, I think, John Harbaugh, maybe his best coaching job yet. They lost their
That's
last six
crazy.
games, Lenny, but you want to know what the scores of 5 of the last 6 games they lost were?
I know they were all like 3-point games,
All
so
right,
like
so
read them
they
off.
lost to the Steelers 20-19.
That was when they went for two, right?
They
In the end
lost to the
zone?
Browns 24-22, so that's
Oh my
1 point
god.
game, 2 point game. They lost to the Packers 31-30, 1 point loss.
Oh no, that was a 2-point conversion. That was the
They
2-point
lost to the
conversion. That's what
Rams
happened.
20-19,
Jeez.
and then they
Oh
lost to
my
the
god.
Steelers in overtime 16-13.
Oh
Like
my
they were
god.
literally,
That is so sad.
and they
That
had
is
no
just.
players. They didn't even have Lamar. They just had Mark
I
Andrews
mean,
out there.
I
Mark Andrews.
okay.
Mark Andrews, the Ravens MVP of the season is Mark Andrews. He was amazing.
Oh yeah, no. Mark Andrews is, I think, at this point as a Raiders fan, partly right. Um,
He's a top three tight end.
Darren Waller isn't the third best tight end in football right now. I just don't think so. I
He
think Mark Andrews has
not anymore.
become the third best. Like it pains me to say that because I love Darren Waller, but I mean, you can't excuse the
I think
production, dude. I mean, he's been
this
amazing.
season purely, Mark Andrews was the best tight end in football. Considering everything,
Kittle was the best when healthy, and
just
Kelsey and Mark
considering
Andrews
like
was the
reliance in
second
the
best.
offense, Kittle has Debo Samuel, Kelsey
That is
has
fair.
Tyreek
That's a fair
Hill.
point. That's a fair point.
So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I totally like you could totally argue this year that Mark Andrews was the best. I'm not
and
gonna
John
refute that at
Harbaugh,
all.
man, this guy is such a great coach. I've been
Hmm.
saying it for years now. He just consistently he wins no matter what. I mean 8-9. This is a down year for the Ravens. Like this is a major down year for the Ravens under John
Yes,
Harbaugh, and it's
yes.
a game out of the playoffs. So this team clearly is better than their record indicated, and they also, in my opinion, are a team that can actually contend for something next year. With Lamar coming
Hmm.
back, Lamar was a little bit shaky this season at times, but I do think part of that was the injury, and he did look really like I still remember that Monday night game against the Colts. He was phenomenal in that game.
Hmm.
He single handedly won them the game.
Do you
I
think
think
Greg Roman is the guy at offensive coordinator? Do you think they should do something about
um,
that or keep him?
I I think you could do better, but I don't know if there's a clear upgrade on the market
I
right now.
think it's worse. I think it's worth. I mean, giving him one more year with a
I'll
healthy
say this:
squad just to see what
I
happens.
don't think he's not the guy yet.
I think he's just an amazing run schemer. He's just really good at scheming run plays. Like he
Run
just
game.
is. But
I
his passing plays are just like so basic. I feel like I don't
he'd
know,
be the best run game coordinator in the NFL.
bro. If he played or if he coached in like the 1990s, he probably would have won a Super Bowl by now. But
Oh yeah, for sure.
we
He'd
don't live
be
in the 1990s anymore. We
yeah.
live in the 2020s or 2022s where you're
The
supposed to
receivers, I
pass
thought
every play.
Marquise Brown showed some potential this year, more than I would have expected out of him. Rashad Bateman showed some stuff this year. This team, like production wise, wasn't terrible. Like Marquise Brown had 1,000 yards, 90 catches. That's good. Rashad Bateman.
I still want someone to emerge outside of Mark Andrews as that like big consistent playmaker. You know what I mean?
You don't think Marquise Brown was that guy?
He's not the consistent aspect, I don't think. I don't think he's the consistent like so like there's a lot of players and receivers out there that are just like they are for sure in that game they're gonna make a big play. With Marquise Brown, I'm not like that. I don't feel
But
that. I
to be
feel
fair, a
yeah.
lot of teams don't have that.
I know. I just feel like for this team to take the extra step, as in like
I agree.
true
Okay, I
Super
would
Bowl
agree with that
contenders,
for sure. I would agree with that.
I just want to see a player emerge
And
like
I,
that.
and
That's all I'm saying.
maybe Rashad Bateman is that guy. Like
He wasn't healthy this year. We don't know yet,
he did
but
show
yeah.
some good stuff when was actually on the field, in my opinion. The offensive line, they got to get rid of Alejandro Villanueva.
Oh, dude,
Stay
that guy. Oh my God, first game of the year, Max Crosby. Oh my God,
It was a disaster.
that was embarrassing.
That
That
was
you
the
know, like
worst
oh my
offensive
God.
line performance I've seen in like 10 years.
You know how they say like the offensive line don't get named or whatever if they like do a good job? Like it was the
Yeah.
complete op. It was like everyone knew Alejandro Villanueva's name by the end of the freaking day, or the end of the game, bro. I mean, God, yeah, that was crazy. He's he's gonna cost Lamar something if they keep him. They need to fix that.
All right. Defensively, they lost Wink Martindale, which is a huge
That
loss.
is huge. That is very bad.
But it is they are pretty good when it comes to replacing staff. They lose staff, it seems like most years. So I'm not too worried about that, but that is something to note. They are getting a little older. Like they got to get pass rushers, I think, for
Calais
sure.
Campbell just isn't a pass rush
They
guy
just
anymore. He
need
just isn't.
more. Like the front seven right now isn't it.
What do you think about Patrick Quinn? I've heard good things about him this year. He had a solid year.
He's inconsistent, but he got better this year for sure.
Yeah. Pass rush is just really important at this time of the year. Or not the time of the year, but like in general. And when your cornerbacks go out the way that they did, you need something. You need some kind of pressure or some kind of anything on the quarterback. And they just didn't have that this year. I thought Justin Houston was fine. I thought Calais Campbell was solid. And that's about it. I don't really have an opinion about any other of the players because they weren't really like they didn't show up. You know what I mean? They weren't like the big
Yeah.
playmaker. They don't have that guy right now in pass rush. Pass rush
The
is important. So
secondary they got to address as well. Now I will say they lost like their first 5 corners. It was ridiculous.
yeah,
But
no, that was tough.
I they definitely got to address that. I think
What you mean, like depth?
just maybe change up a couple things overall, like roster wise. I do feel like the safeties aren't necessarily great. And they did get beat over the top a lot. But the Ravens aren't very far from like being a Super Bowl caliber team. There's a couple areas. I think honestly, like this may sound crazy because as as an NFL fan, I perceive the Ravens as this tough defensive team. I think their offense has more. I think their offense has less flaws right now to address than their defense.
I think with the Ravens' offense, it's just solving the right tackle position and seeing if you can find that
But you can
consistent
solve right
playmaker on
tackle.
the outside.
You just need a right tackle that can play in the NFL.
Yeah, not like Alex Leatherwood or Alejandro Villanueva, but an actual player, you know. But yeah,
But yeah,
I totally
defensively
agree.
they got to address some stuff. I think for sure. But if this team can have a good free agency and a good draft, the Ravens are a very good drafting team. I think they can contend for a Super Bowl. They can contend for the division. I know, and we should get to the Bengals, even though we already did. I think we
We can
may
do like a
only do
brief.
the
We can do like a
we
brief
may only
overview.
do the AFC today because it's gonna go for we're already 30 minutes in. We're just
We
done with
can just
one.
do two different conferences. We can just do NFC North if you really want to.
No, we'll do the AFC today, and then we can do the
Okay,
NFC some other day. But
some other day.
yeah, maybe tomorrow. Um, I think with the AFC or not with the AFC with the Baltimore
No,
Ravens, if they address some of the stuff that they need in free agency and the draft, then they can contend for a Super Bowl. I'm not willing to give the Bengals this division just off the fact that they made it to the Super Bowl. Like I know they should be favored, but the Ravens have been a very good franchise, a very consistent franchise, and Lamar Jackson is 37-12 as a starter. So
no one
yeah,
talks about it. No one talks about it. Yeah, for a second, let's just talk. I think we should just talk about Lamar right now. With his
you
contract
go ahead.
situation, he has, I think, 1 year left. Everyone's wondering if he's going to get a big payday.
He
Personally, I
will.
think they'll
He
give
will.
him. they'll give him this year, and they'll see what happens this year, and then they'll pay him maybe midway through the year, maybe like whatever after. I don't think they'll do it this offseason just because he got injured. It's kind of like a question mark. You know what I mean? And you don't feel good about it if you're going to re-sign him, right?
Maybe. I
Like
wouldn't be
you're
too
like iffy
surprised if
about
he
it.
did get paid this year, though.
But anyway, Lamar Jackson is an incredible player, but people talked about him like he's like Joe Flacco, and it really confuses me because Lamar Jackson has this ability to change the landscape of a game at any given moment, and I don't think that a lot of quarterbacks just have that ability, let alone the consistency that I think I've seen out of him throughout his entire career. When his receiving help is there, I've seen that he's been able to play like one of the best quarterbacks in football. But I think the problem possibly is that when things get tough in the passing game, he just isn't good enough to carry it. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
think that
for
it,
sure.
if that's really like a big problem, I
And
don't
look, he's
know.
still
I
a
don't
young
think so.
player. Like, guys, he's still a really young player.
Yeah, he's played like
He
3 years,
can
right? I
develop.
mean,
I've already seen development from him from his rookie year to now in the passing game. Like, he used to not be able to throw, period. Now he can throw. But,
yeah,
yeah, I
I just
agree
think
with
it's
you
stupid. I
there.
just think it's stupid.
Yeah. Um. So Lenny, what are quick thoughts? Like just about like 4 days since we kind of recapped it, 5 days, whatever, however long it was since the Super Bowl. What have your opinion on? Has your opinion on the Bengals kind of changed? Do you see this team as a contender right back again next year?
Not really. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't think so. Like
You
I
did say
feel
they were
bad.
extremely lucky to beat the
I,
Titans
I
and Chiefs.
I just look at this roster and I look at the quarterbacks that they have to play in the AFC and all the other rosters they have to play. Like if they're in the NFC, then we're talking differently. We're talking differently in the NFC, right? Because realistically, they contend with the Niners, Packers if they keep Rodgers, which we don't even know if they're going to do, and they're not going to be that good if they don't have Rodgers. Let's be honest. And maybe like the Vikings or like an NFC West team like the Rams or the Cardinals, and that's it. But with the AFC, it's just like there's just so much like talent. The Patriots are a team we can look at. The Browns if they get their stuff together. The Chargers if they get their stuff together. The Chiefs, the freaking the Bills. There's so many teams, and it's
The
just so hard
Ravens.
for me to see with a team that just consistently has let their rosters fall over whenever they had an opportunity to make it like really great. For me to be like they're
I
gonna do it.
think
I
I
just
think
don't.
this
I don't know.
offseason is going to tell me a lot about the Bengals. If they go out there and they go hard when it comes to
This is it. Mike
rebuilding
Brown's
the
gonna have to
offensive
pull the
line,
trigger, dude. It's gonna
if
be
they
Mike
do
Brown.
that, then I'm like, okay, this team's legit a contender for years to come. But if they don't, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they miss the playoffs.
I have this feeling that they're just gonna settle for complacency.
Me too.
I don't
Me
want to see
too.
it. I don't
And I
want to
don't
see it.
like it because I love Joe Burrow, but
Yeah,
and I want to see him succeed and I want to see him in big games. But I really and Carson Palmer, a lot of Bengals fans hated him for what he said, but he wasn't wrong, guys. He
he
was not
wasn't
wrong.
wrong. Nope.
Um, and you know he knows best because he was in that situation 15 years ago. And I think with the Bengals, they got to go hard after offensive line. If they're able to do that, then yes, I can see them as a contender. But honestly, Lenny, if they just sit there and they're complacent, and I'm gonna put it on record now because Mitch has all these hot takes that I want to get one of these right. I would not be stunned if they missed the playoffs next year. I really wouldn't be.
Yeah, me neither. I think that's a pretty good. We don't have to like talk about it that long.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. I think we feel the same way. All right. What division do you want to do next?
Let's move to the NFC North here.
The
Uh,
North.
let's go to the division champions once again. What a surprise! It went to the Green Bay Packers,
Wow.
but nobody could have called that. Uh,
Nobody.
by
Nope.
the way, Brett Favre, my jersey, Green Bay Packers. So
Right.
there.
Favor.
Pretty ironic. I'm wearing a Packers jersey. Lenny's wearing a Niners jersey.
We
But
still own you.
the Packers went 13-4. Oh, Lenny, have you ever heard this? The Packers got the number one seed in the NFC.
Oh.
They won 13 games. Rodgers won MVP. Devontae
Mm.
Adams was the best receiver in the league, one of the two best receivers in the league. And they lost before the Super Bowl.
Oh wow, I'm so surprised that
And
I honestly
now there's Rodgers' retirement and trade rumors.
uh
Have you
with
ever
the
heard of
pack.
this? Have you ever heard of this before?
No, I can't. I don't think I've ever heard of this story before. It's certainly an original story from you.
Yeah.
Wait, I gotta go for a sec.
Yeah. So the Green Bay Packers, obviously, what's really like it's honestly it depends on what happens with Aaron Rodgers. Like if Aaron Rodgers stays, this team's loaded. They're gonna if Aaron Rodgers is coming back, it means by some way they'll get Devontae Adams back. I highly doubt that Rodgers comes back without Adams. I just don't see that happening.
Probably not.
So if they get both those guys back, then this team they may lose a couple guys, but they'll probably just load up for another Super Bowl run, and we'll see if they can actually do it this year. They haven't gotten back since 2010, which is too long, honestly, for a
Too long.
quarterback as
Too
great
long.
as Aaron Rodgers. And I understand it's hard to get to a Super Bowl, but this team has consistently been in the hunt. They've been consistently in the playoffs. Outside of New England, really, they have been the best franchise in the NFL over the last 15 years, in my opinion. So, at least consistency wise.
Yeah,
So,
I'd say consistency wise.
it's them or the Steelers. And I think they've gotta do it eventually. Otherwise, I mean, if they lose again in the playoffs, it's just gonna be a disaster.
I hope Jordan Love wins one Super Bowl and just like
Jordan
is.
Jordan Love wins the Super Bowl. Imagine Jordan Love wins like 3 Super Bowls now, that'd be
Oh my god,
hilarious.
that would be very funny. But
Yeah.
I
How do
the
so
Packers
Lenny? Do you see
are in
Rogers
a tough
staying?
spot. I don't think so. I think there's a chance, like an outside chance. I'm not gonna say he's indefinitely not gonna stay, but like it just I don't know. It feels like I mean he posted on his freaking Instagram the last dance. Like you didn't just post that for no reason, right? I mean, I don't
Jordan
know
came back though.
how I don't know how willing the Packers are like to trade him as in if he's just like totally out of it, if he's gonna like if they're gonna let him trade him. I don't know. There's a lot of trade candidates out there. There's teams that like viably would fit with Aaron Rodgers and
Denver
would
obviously
work
goes
out.
somewhere in there.
They have the draft capital. A lot of these teams. I think the Steelers are an option. I think the Broncos are an option. I
Tampa
think
Bay.
Tampa Bay is an option.
I don't know
There's a
if
lot of
Rodgers
teams
would
out
fill
there.
in with Brady. I even think like
Washington's an option. I mean,
Mitch loves floating out this Brady to the 49ers thing. Maybe Rodgers to the Niners may happen. Who
I
knows?
don't want Rodgers to the Niners. We'd have to give up too much, and we don't even have a lot of freaking.
Um,
Anyway. All I'm trying to say is the Packers are probably not going to keep Rodgers. I just don't think so. There's too many
I
options out there,
I
and I
actually
don't
disagree.
think so.
I feel like this is just Aaron Rodgers. Given how he is, he loves attention, and I just feel like he's gonna. I don't know why. I just feel like he's gonna come back next year. Like there's no
It's
basis for it. There's no reason for it, other than the fact that I just think he's gonna come back next year. You know?
here's a problem. Here's a problem that like adds to that. They're over $40 million in cap
Yeah,
space
cap
right now.
space
They're
doesn't
over.
matter, Lenny. I'm not
I
worried.
think it kind of does
The
for the
Saints have been
Packers,
under like 100, under a
but they
hundred
don't. They
million for
don't
like five
have.
straight years, and they keep getting everybody back. You can work ways around it. You can
I don't
with
think they
cuts
have.
and restructures. You can manipulate the salary cap nowadays, and they
Well,
they they kind of did that last year too. But
they're supposed to re-sign Aaron Rodgers for like $500 billion or whatever they were
Lenny,
saying.
on mathematically doesn't make sense, but
Probably not.
nothing does anymore.
Okay,
But
fine. If we're just going to talk about
I'm just kind of to
non-financially,
the
I
point
still don't
where
think it's.
I'll see it when I believe it with this saga. Like it's been going on for what 3 years now,
I don't think
and
this is happening. In what 2019 was when it started.
it,
That
it's it happened. It's been happened. He's been in trade rumors since Jordan Love got drafted.
hmm, yeah. I mean, this feels like
It
drawn
definitely
out.
happened last year.
What else? I feel like they're gonna lose some talent this year. They're just bound to. I don't know what talent that's gonna be because obviously they can work around the cap, but they gotta lose something. I don't know what it's gonna be.
So it'd
Usually,
be probably Zadarius Smith is gone.
hmm
Rasul Douglas is probably gone.
He's not getting paid that much, is he?
Yeah, well, they're gonna lose Zadarius Smith. I think is for sure gone, and
Yeah,
then
he's gone.
Devondre Cam. I'm looking at it right now. So I'd be either Devondre Campbell or Rasul Douglas. I think they'd probably be able to bring one of those guys back. It
I'd
probably
want to bring Campbell back. I don't want to
Campbell
bring
would probably
Douglas
be the
back.
guy. So
I wouldn't want to bring
you'd
Douglas
assume
back.
Douglas is gone out of those two. Marquez Valdez Scantling may be gone. There's going to be a couple losses here. Robert Tanyan is another guy, but if Aaron Rodgers comes back, if Devontae Adams comes back, this team is still like a contender for sure.
For sure. Yeah. It's no. The NFC's too like bad for them
And
to miss the
I
playoffs
think
or
a big
anything. I
thing
mean,
with the Packers right now is honestly, even if they move forward with Jordan Love, are we sure that with Jordan Love, the Packers are not the best team in their division?
I don't know how good Kevin O'Connell is as a coach,
It
but we'll get to
depends on the
that. We'll
Vikings,
get to
really.
that. We'll get to that. But I I feel
It's
like they'd still pretty clearly be the best team in
I'm
the
telling you,
division.
like it depends if Kevin O'Connell's like the next McVay, then
He doesn't
no.
even need to be that. He just needs to be like
But
fine.
they're better than the Bears, I think, with Jordan Love.
No,
Still,
I think we'll get to the other teams, but right now I don't think that they are going to. The Bears are going to be contending, but for the division. But I think with the Packers, the main needs, if they are theoretically able to get Adams and Rodgers back somehow, is you need to find secondary weapons outside
for
of
sure. Yeah.
Adams because you saw in the NFC Championship game, I not the NFC Championship, the NFC Divisional round against
So
the
you say
Niners
NFC title
that
game, huh?
that they lost because they couldn't throw to anyone but Devontae Adams. Even if they were getting open, it just Aaron Rodgers doesn't trust anybody. Aaron Jones, I don't really know what you want to do with him because you have two really good running backs down there in the running back core. What's his name? The other running back they drafted
AJ Dillon.
last year. AJ Dillon, he's really good. No one really talks about him right now, but I think he's been pretty good this season. And I don't know if you really need all that cap space with Aaron Jones. You don't really need it, I don't think. On defense, I think their cornerback group is good. Like past, but they drafted someone
Honestly, their
last year.
defense
He was
is
pretty good.
pretty like set. Honestly,
I mean, maybe
outside
find
of
a
run
replacement for
defense.
Zadarius Smith
Yeah,
and
but they've got Preston Smith and
safety.
Rashawn Gary.
You'd want to find a solution to your safety problem if you get rid of Rasul Douglas. But like other than that, I think overall they're pretty sound. I'd say.
Yeah, so this is still a really good roster. It's just like I think it's more fatigue with the Packers losing. They're probably not in quite as bad as a situation as people think, but
No, probably
it's
not.
just like I'm so tired of this team consistently going out early.
I think
I'm
they have
sure
Matt
you're not as a
Lafleur.
Niners fan.
No. I hope we play them again next year. I honestly do. Like
Yeah,
if it's NFC Championship game and where the Niners are playing them, I'm gonna be like, oh, we're in the Super Bowl. Cool, that's cool. I'll get
how's
tickets
Shanahan
before
gonna
the game
blow it this
starts.
time?
I don't know, but then we'll talk about the NFC West some other time. But with the Packers, there's not like a lot of holes. It's
Yeah,
very hard to find
there's
holes.
outside of the whole Rodgers stuff, there's not much to talk about really with the roster.
It's a really good roster. If they don't have Aaron Rodgers, it's not as great of a
Oh, one
roster, but it's
last
still a
thing
really good
though.
roster.
This is actually a good thing for them. Well, actually, there's two things. So coaching changes. Nathaniel Hackett took the Denver job, so
That's
there
true.
could be a bit of loss of creativity offensively. But
Who's
they
the
did
quarterback
get
coach?
your boy
No.
Rich Bisaccia as special teams coordinator.
Yeah, that'll
So,
help.
and their special teams was historic. It was 2010 Chargers level last year. Basically, cost them the divisional game against y'all. But
I think they probably would have won the game if they had like a
that
top
if they had
30
Bisaccia, they'd probably win the
special team.
game. So
No, they definitely win the game with Rich Versace. But that is definitely a really good hire for the Packers. Like speaking of the person who saw him coach, we had Daniel Carlson, who was turned from Vikings joke. He was a joke with the freaking Vikings. And turned into a really solid kicker for us, who kicked a lot of game winners for us in the last 2 years. And AJ Cole, who just went to the Pro Bowl and was an All-Pro punter. I mean, he's a really good coach. He's gonna do a lot of good things, I think, for the Packers. I think it's a really good hire for him.
All right.
That's about
Let's
it. Yeah, with the
head
Packers.
slightly west from Green Bay to Minnesota. And
Minnesota.
the Minnesota Vikings, the new head coach replacing Mike Zimmer. Well, we're actually, real quick before we get into this, me and Lenny both were high on the Vikings last year.
I had them winning the division, I think, for a
I
second.
had them get making the playoffs.
I had them as the fifth seed, and they lost a tiebreaker over like a one game. I
I
think they
hate the
had the same
Vikings. I hate
record.
the Vikings so much. But
Oh
yeah,
man.
I do think
Whoa. Ultra died. Okay. This is not the first time this has happened. Um, so with the
this
Vikings.
Viking.
Oh wait.
Am I? What
What's
happened?
going you like glitched for a second. I thought you were gone. All right. Well, restart whatever you were saying.
Yeah, so I was gonna say this season was extremely disappointing for the Vikings.
Oh no, for sure. For most people, I don't know. Vikings fans, I think, just kind of knew this might have happened. But for most fans, you look at the roster and you're like, man, you have Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Kirk Cousins, you have Dalvin Cook, and you look at that just primarily, and you're like, wow, this team offensively could be really something. And then you look at their O line, and then you look at your offensive coordinator, and you're like, oh, that's why we suck.
Don't we do this every year though? We're like,
um,
oh, the Vikings have like, oh, this good quarterback, like a stud with
I think
weapons, and it's
the
like no offensive
problem
line.
the problem with Kirk Cousins is not that he's not efficient because he's very efficient. He's very good
Kirk Cousins is
at.
the like the he's the funniest quarterback in the league.
I think the problem is that he's not willing to pull the trigger when he needs to.
You're
When it's a
exactly
big
right,
game, when it's a big game and it's like game on the line, like you need to
bro.
make a big
Lenny,
decision. He
there
just
are
doesn't do it. I
plays
don't
on
think.
like 3rd and 10 when Cousins throws the ball like 4 yards behind the sticks.
There's also times where he does pull the trigger and he just like does the most baffling decision I've ever seen.
It's not.
I,
I don't think it's because like he's scared of prime time or stuff.
no,
Just
I just think it's a
stuff like that.
mentality. Maybe it's just like he was coached that way. I don't know. It's
I
just
don't know. It
that's
just
what he
feels
does.
like Kirk Cousins when it comes to big games. Outside of that one game against the Saints, which every single quarterback in NFL history has had their hallmark moment against Breeze's Saints, right? In the playoffs. I'm not even wrong.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Smith
No,
had it,
you're right.
you
No,
know,
you're right.
Goff had it, but
Stephon
uh,
Diggs had it.
outside of that, it just feels
Russell
like
Wilson, Marshawn Lynch. Remember?
yeah, yeah. Case Keenum had it,
Oh, jeez.
but it just feels like Kirk Cousins in big games. That just isn't that. But you look at the numbers. He completed 66% of his passes. You know I'm not a big completion percentage guy, but 66% of his
No.
passes is still six. It's 2/3. That's impressive. Threw for 4,200 yards, 33 touchdowns to 7 picks is actually very impressive. 103 rating, and this is like the second straight year of a similar stat line to this.
No, no one's arguing that Kirk Cousins doesn't have great stats because he does. He just does.
I just feel like the stats. There's some players where I feel like their stats are. It shows that they're better. Like I feel like their stats don't do them enough justice. But there's other players where I feel like their stats overrate them a little bit.
Mhm.
And there's I just don't feel like Kirk Cousins overall as a quarterback is an elite
I
quarterback
don't.
that
I
can
don't think
carry
he
it.
plays like his stats. You know what I mean?
He
I
does,
don't.
but like you always see his completion percentage and passer rating are really high. But you look at like his A dot and stuff like that, it's not. So I don't know, man. I think Kirk Cousins is good. Kirk Cousins is not the problem with the team though.
No, he's
The
definitely not the
problem with the
problem.
team is the offensive line stinks. And the
I
offensive line sucked
also
for
last year
years.
it was because the offensive coordinator was garbage. I'm sorry, he was garbage. I don't know who
Exactly.
his name is, but every
Clint
single time
Kubiak.
the Vikings are so annoying, dude. Mitch argued about this, and I started to notice it. He
It's
like
it's it's
they run the
inside
ball on
zone
first
and
down,
then
bro.
PA boot, right?
I know. Yeah, it's always run the ball on
Basic
first down,
stuff.
get stuff for like 1-2 yards, and then like play action off of it, straight drop back pass, and then it's just like incompletion, and then they go full empty set, Dalvin Cook as a slot receiver, and then it's just fourth down. And
And
that's
then the
every single
defense, it's just
possession for the
like I remember
Vikings.
my guy Eric Eager said this late in the year. Um, he said, "Remember when they Lenny? Do you remember when they signed like all these random players for
Yes,
agency?
yes. I was so excited. Legarius Sneed was one of them or something. Wait, who was it? It was that one
Like
Chiefs
Xavier
corner.
Woods. Who else? God, who else did they sign?
They signed that one
Everson
Chiefs corner,
Griffin,
bro.
Patrick Peterson. Like all
Yeah,
these.
Patrick Peterson was really weird. That was like, okay, you're doing something with the secondary at least, right? I mean, you're doing something.
Lenny, they sucked.
Yeah, no, this cornerback group give me like Raiders 2020 flashbacks with how bad it was, honestly.
The
Um,
defense in general was awful.
Patrick Peterson has reverted to Josh Norman levels right now, where he's just kind of like a player in the NFL with a big name. You know what I mean? Uh, their pass rush, there really wasn't any pass rush this year. I don't think
That
either. I mean
exist.
that it created like this double thing where they got zero pass rush and they had zero coverage, so people would just get open immediately, and whoever quarterback they played would just have like to sit in the pocket for like 10 seconds. I mean,
The
it
other
was a
thing with
really
the
bad
team
combo.
too, and this is just kind of an external thing with the Vikings, and as a Falcons fan, I can relate. They just consistently find ways to lose games that they should win.
That's a losing culture, I think.
Exactly. And
I don't
hopefully
think
Kevin
the
O'Connell
players
coming
weren't
from
bought
a
in.
winning culture can change that. What did you I actually don't mind the O'Connell hire. I felt like it
I
was
think
a
it's
lot of
fine.
like a lot of low risk to it. But what were your thoughts?
I think Kevin O'Connell is a solid hire. I've seen Sean McVay guys have a lot of success in the past. I like the scheme for what they're trying to do. With their O line, it's a real big problem. And they have a coordinator who's going to help try to eliminate the O line from the equation, which they just didn't have back in like last year in the last couple of years. Uh, I think they just have a lot of playmakers, and I think Kevin O'Connell knows how to get the ball into the hands of playmakers. He saw it with John McVay for as long as he's been there with Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, and I think
I
he'll
think
do a
Justin
fine job.
Jefferson could have like Justin Jefferson is a more talented player than Cooper Kupp is.
Yes, that is not a question.
So
I
the
don't think
ceiling
anybody can
for
argue that.
him is higher.
Yes.
But Lenny, how do you see them? Like, how do you see them going into next year? I think this is a really weird team because I don't really know the direction. Like, this team is not a Super Bowl contender, but as long as Kirk Cousins stays there, he is good enough to prevent them from being awful, like
Mhm.
just from being the worst team in the league or something like that. So, how do you see them?
I think Kevin O'Connell will do enough for them to be a respectable team. I think Kirk Cousins will do enough for them to be a respectable team. I just think there's too much talent on this team for them to be terrible. When you have a consistent quarterback, a quarterback who's just good enough, uh, not to say Kirk Cousins is bad because he's not bad. It's just late games stuff. But you have Justin Jefferson, you have Dalvin Cook, and you have Adam Thielen. It's hard to like be terrible. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're gonna have to have like a really bad coaching staff. But another problem was their special teams. There was another thing with the Pack. What is it with the NFC North, dude? Their special teams are terrible, bro. The Viking special teams, man. Every single time I felt like they were gonna make a big kick, I'm like they're gonna miss. Week 1 against the freaking Cardinals. You know what happened? They were about to win the game on a game-winning kick, and then nope, missed. It was wide right. I remember the exact call.
Wide
They
right.
they thought they thought they made it, and he's like nope, went wide right. What's some other games? I know there's other games where they kick the ball.
It's every year with this team with kicking.
I mean, if only they kept Daniel Carlson, right? But uh, if they fix their special teams, which is not like a big ask, but it's still an ask. It's hard to get good kickers in the NFL that are going to like consistently win you games. But it's like harder than you'd think. But and they solve their line issue. I think they'll be a pretty good team. Their defense is still a big question mark, but I think you need to invest in your offensive line right now. I don't really care about the defense as much right now. I'm worried about saving Kirk Cousins from becoming dead. And I think that they might do that, but I don't know. That's what I think.
All right, Lenny. Next up is the Chicago Bears. I'll be right back. I gotta
Oh,
restart my
wait,
computer real quick.
I forgot to ask, bro. Wait. Is it like,
What?
are we doing mid? Is this a mid season, low season, high season? I forgot to do that for the last
Oh
two.
yeah. Okay. So for the Vikings, this year was a low season because like I
I'd
thought
say
they
it's a
were.
low season.
Yeah.
They went in the wrong direction this year. And
All
with
right,
the
Lenny. Start
Packers, it's mid.
start the Bears kind of preview. I'll join in a minute. I just got to restart
Okay.
my computer because of this update. So
Okay. So the Bears are very interesting this year. We don't really know what's up with Justin Fields right now. We're like, I don't know, we're like kind of know what he's about. With Justin Fields, I feel like the problem isn't that he's like not talented because he's obviously talented, but the problem is that he isn't being supported the right way. There's certain things that he does that aren't being used in his offense. And I know everyone's been talking about with Matt Nagy how terrible he is, but I see the physical ability as his legs, and I see the strong arm that he has, and I'm like, there's got to be better ways you can use him than the way they were using. I mean, Darnell Mooney, the fact that he was the only good receiver on this team is just embarrassing. They have Allen Robinson on franchise tag. I mean, their O line has been really bad this year. David Montgomery wasn't healthy. I just think he wasn't supported in the right way. I don't know. I just think he was like I didn't see any read option stuff. I didn't see any like bootleg quarterback bootlegs, any rollouts or anything. It felt like they were playing him like Andy Dalton or like Nick Foles. They did straight drop back pass almost every single time they passed, and there was no creativity in the offense. And I don't know if the Colts defensive coordinator is the right hire for that. I think for the Bears this season, it was a mix of just underwhelming talent and their cornerback position and their defense in general just being either injured with Khalil Mack and a lot of their other players, along with their cornerback group, just heavily regressing from a couple years ago. It was whenever I watched the Bears game, man. I mean, this is similar to what we were talking about with the Vikings. They just aren't good. They just aren't a good group. Um, I think the Bears are in an interesting position right now because they have a quarterback that can be good under the right circumstances, but I don't know if I fully trust them to get the most out of Justin Fields that I see of him. I see a lot of potential though. I don't think he's necessarily terrible. I don't think he's going to be terrible in this future, but he didn't have a great season this year. But I think it's unfair to just label him as officially bad because he wasn't put in the good position this year, and he has obviously a lot of talent. So I'm not going to like completely rule him out, but I don't think he's amazing. I think he's similar to like a Jalen Hurts type, a similar. I wouldn't say like the same player, but like you see the talents there. You need to be able to use that talent to help him win games. But uh, I guess overall with the Bears, I think that's oh, you're here so now, so I guess I'll just wrap up what I was saying.
okay.
Basically, I was just saying that Justin Fields is not wasn't the problem this year. It was more like the surroundings around him were bad. Like they weren't
I
using him
agree with
right.
that
They
for
didn't
sure.
really have any receivers outside of Darnell Mooney, and their cornerback position was a complete joke outside. And Khalil Mack was injured this year. Those are the big things. I think there was no creativity in the offense. The defense was bland. It was I think it comes down to a lot with coaching and those things, and those are very important positions in football not to have.
Yeah, I think the Bears. I don't like the Eberflus hire at all. I'm
I
just gonna
don't
be
either. I
honest.
don't either. I
I
talked
think they
about
should
that.
have
I don't
gone
like
off,
it.
and I know Matt Nagy completely sucked, even though he has a better record than Kyle Shanahan.
Oh,
But
shush.
but Matt Nagy was obviously awful. I think when I look at this, it's just kind of like I think they should have gone offensive for Justin Fields. He is the guy that you want to you're building your franchise around, obviously,
You want to
or
invest
at
in
least
him,
supposedly, and because you picked him top 10 of the draft. But
and you traded a pick for him too.
yeah, but and I think Justin Fields was better than I honestly thought at times. Like I remember they played the Packers on Sunday night. He really impressed me.
He's shown flashes
He's
for
shown
sure.
flashes for sure. He wasn't Mac Jones, but he showed flashes. I think when I look at this Bears team right now, there's a lot of aging pieces. Like Mac's getting older, Hicks is getting older, Jackson's getting older. this defense is getting older, and we've seen it regress year by year by year. And now I don't even know if it's a good defense anymore. The offense, Allen Robinson
Mm,
sucks.
I don't think he sucks. I think he was
No, he
more
doesn't
just like
suck, but he's
he would.
nowhere near what he used to be.
I think he just like I legit think he just took this year off and didn't train at all. I think
Lenny,
he
do you
was
think
just
he
like
quit on the team?
I'm like 99% sure he quit on the team.
You
Whoa.
actually think he quit on
I
the team?
he didn't whenever I watched him he didn't look like he played very hard. It looked like they were directly like not targeting him at all. I don't know. That's just what I saw
All
whenever I
right,
watched the Bears.
I'm gonna leave this as an asking point. Which looks better here, this or this?
I like that one better.
Okay, I'll keep it
I
as
could put I
this
could
one.
put I could put more stuff here too
Yeah.
next time.
Meanwhile, my stuff's all the way in the back,
Are
so I
those
can't
shoes?
put
Is that a
anything.
football? Who's on the football?
Georgia championship football, and then my new pair of Jordans that I got like for my birthday. So
All right.
let's
The
move on to the
Bears,
Detroit Lions, Lenny.
the Lions. Oh boy,
Oh, by the
I
way,
love Dan Campbell.
the season for the Bears was like a mid.
I
About
think
what
it
I
was
expected.
down. I think it was down because they didn't show any progress, and every single thing that I thought could have been a highlight of them went down. Because they did make the playoffs
I
last
just
year.
think some of the promise Fields showed salvaged it a little bit.
I think that's fair.
All right, I think the Detroit Lions actually had an up season. Like I think
This is
this
one
was
of the
the best
best
possible.
seasons. This is
This
the
was
best
one. They
season the
had one of the
Lions have
best
had.
seasons in the NFL, and they won 3 games, in my
This is
opinion.
the this is by far the best like 2-win, 3-win game like year any team's ever had in franchise in NFL history,
So
I think.
first of all of the Lions fans out here saying Matt Stafford was really good for the last 10 years got proven right.
Yep, yeah, that's true. Yep,
Golf clap.
yep.
But Matt Stafford won the Super Bowl. He dedicated it to the Lions. He dedicated part of it to the Lions fans. So congratulations to that. But
And
speaking on the
Eminem was in
Lions
the and
themselves,
Eminem was also in the Super Bowl.
they were a really competitive 3-win team, Lenny.
Yeah, they played the
They
Steelers
lost
tough.
one, two, three,
They almost
four,
beat the
five,
Rams. Remember? Do you remember that when they
six.
almost beat the Rams?
They lost 6 1-score games this year.
Remember when they were beating the Rams by like 13 points in the second quarter?
I don't remember that, but
Okay, so the score was 10-3 in the first quarter.
it
The
was
Lions were leading.
13-3.
And then it became 16-7 into the half. And then the Lions scored a field goal, making it
No, that was actually a close
19 to
game. I'm looking at it now.
17.
I don't remember
Yeah, it
it,
was
but
close, and then they just kind of piled it on at the end, and were like, "Yeah, we're gonna win the Super Bowl
the
this year.
Lions
You guys can't
outgained
beat
the
us."
Rams.
The Lions played just the Lions literally pulled out every single trick out of the trick book.
The
I
Lions
think that
are
oh man,
the Lions are the easily the most lovable team, right?
I love Dan Campbell. I like even as just like a fan of people,
Dan
like
Campbell's
how can you
awesome.
not like this guy? I don't understand how you can't like this guy.
And
Dude
he
is
did a good job too.
I okay, I don't think we need to talk about the problems the Lions have. They have a lot of
Yeah,
problems. They
let's just make this positive, Lenny. I don't even
yeah, let's
care.
just make it
Like we know the
positive
roster
because
sucks. They're a million miles away from being competitive. But
when
Amon
you
Ross St. Brown's good. Saved your
Monroe
fantasy
St.
team.
Brown saved my fantasy team this year. Cannot save that guy more. Brandon Ayuk totally sold on me this year because Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't know how to throw deep. But
And
um,
Shanahan was playing like Trent Sherfield above him.
he
Anyways,
was
but
for doing it. But yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown I think
yeah.
is a really big highlight of this year. Not a lot of people are talking about him right now, but whenever I watch the Lions game at the end of the year, I don't know. Dude's just, I think he's just really good with the ball in his hands. He's just really good at finding
And
space
I'll say
and just
this
getting
about
yards after
Jared
catch.
Goff: he's obviously McVay product, and that got exposed. But he's not. He's an NFL starter. He's a top
Definitely
32
not
quarterback.
like, he's definitely not like Joe Flacco after he
He's
left the
not as
Ravens.
bad as I honestly. He's not as bad as I thought he would be this year.
I think at the beginning of the year he was, but then the emergence of Amon-Ra St. Brown definitely helped him.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he was a little bit underrated by everybody.
He had
Like
some
everybody
pretty good
bailed on
games, and then he had some really bad games.
him.
What do you think about TJ Hawkinson? I think he's
I'll
pretty
say
good.
this. I'll get to that in a minute. But he's the
Okay.
like he's not like a Nathan Peterman or like a Christian Ponder. Like
Oh,
you
jeez.
know what you have out of some of your guys with Jared Goff at quarterback when it comes to your receivers. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown is good because Jared Goff's good enough to throw him the football.
Yes.
Whereas with Nathan Peterman out there or a Christian Ponder out there, you
How
don't know if
dare you speak
yeah.
ill of Nathan Peterman?
Hawkinson, slight down year, but he's still a good. He's a top 10 tight end for sure.
He's yeah, he's good. He's solid. I
DeAndre
think
Swift, I
yeah.
think, is the best
He had a
garbage
really
time
good
running
year.
back in the NFL. My
I
boy
think he
from
had a really good
Georgia,
year though. He still had a really good year.
Swift. Yeah, he
Yeah.
did.
Like considering just the Lions as a team.
The
I mean,
offensive
like,
line
yeah,
actually played pretty well. Panay Sewell, even though
they got injured.
obviously
They
he
got injured.
wasn't Chase, but he had a good year.
Sewell's a dog, bro. I'm telling you, the athleticism I see of that guy, I'm very impressed just by straight fact of that.
The defense, outside of that one Amani guy in the secondary, stinks. Like
Oh yeah,
they're
that
just
one guy. Yeah, he made the Pro Bowl. I saw him, bro. Yeah, he's pretty good. But yeah, everyone
um,
else is terrible. Everyone else
yeah,
is literally a liability.
they cut the rest of the defense basically.
Yeah, it's similar to the
But
2020
yeah, I
Raiders
think
game
the
plan.
Lions had one of the better seasons in the league between Stafford winning the title and overall, like they people were talking about them as a winless team, and they were really competitive. So,
I
and
remember
I do think they've got a fairly bright future. I do.
uh, it depends how good the GM
Obviously, it
is because they
depends, but
have picks. They have picks.
it
They
feels
have.
like Lenny. It feels like for the first time in a while they have their act together as a franchise,
I think it's a good way to
which
put
is
it.
why they won't win anything for the next 50 years. But
Oh no.
no, but positivity back in here, it does feel like that.
I feel like this team has just had this feeling of dread and just like overall like sadness. I don't know, like
Misery,
you know what I mean? Like misery. I think it's a better
yeah,
way to say it.
like no
And
hope.
this season just it just felt like good. It felt different. It felt and for a Lions organization that's looking to just be good or at least serviceable, I think that's the
Not to
first
be a
step.
laughing stock.
Exactly. I think that's the first step. I don't think anyone's like really hating
They
on
don't want
The
another
Lions right
Matt
now.
Stafford situation to happen again.
They don't want a Calvin Johnson situation to happen again. And
No.
Lamar St. Brown is going to get paid like $10 million, and they're going to like not pay him $1 million in incentives when he retires. Watch. um, I like the Lions' future in theory, if you know what I mean,
There's still a
because they
lot of
have.
work to do,
Here's
obviously.
the thing: they have cap space. They don't have a lot of contracts or anything. They have a young core, but it's
They're
about
going to be one of
making
the
those
biggest
picks.
spenders in free agency.
You have to make those picks. I learned that with the Raiders the hard way. You have to make the right picks, and I don't know if the Lions are going to do that.
And the same is to be said with cap space as well. Like you got to
That
make
is
the same.
true. Free agency, you got to make the signings. You got
But
to make the right
they
guys.
do seem like a team that's going to spend big this coming
Dan
off
Campbell,
season.
bro, he's going to pay like $10 million. It's a $20 million a year for Adams, I bet.
All right, I think this is another team that, considering all the factors, had a pretty successful season.
Yes.
Let's move over to the AFC South and let's talk some Tennessee Titans. They went 12-5. They beat the Chiefs in the regular season. They beat the Bills in the regular season. They were the number 1 seed in the AFC. This is without Derrick Henry for the last half of the year. This is without Julio Jones for a majority of the year. This is about A.J. Brown for like half the year. And this is with Ryan Tannehill significantly declining. What carried this team this year, Lenny, was Mike Vrabel and his defense.
Yes.
And what carried them in that playoff game against the Bengals was Mike Vrabel and his defense. What
Mm-hmm.
lost them the game was Ryan Tannehill. So what do you make of that whole situation?
I think it's getting overblown on how bad Tannehill
Oh,
is.
first of all, Lenny, is Mike Vrabel the new Mike Tomlin? In that he's just never
Dude,
gonna have.
I,
He's
I,
four
I I
years
just don't
through.
like the comparisons like that. They're different coaches. I look at them; they're different coaches. But
No, but like in terms of he's just not gonna have a losing season.
maybe I don't know. Mike Tomlin had Big Ben his entire career. He's gonna have Tannehill for next like 3 or 2 years, probably. You think?
Tannehill is 33. To be fair.
He is very old. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, sure, whatever. Like he wins a lot of games. That's just something he does. You're gonna win more than 8 games. Whatever you have Mike Vrabel as a coach. That's what we think at least. But with the Titans this year, I think their front seven was honestly an elite unit. I honestly think it was like really good. Like
Pass
Bud
rush and run
Dupree.
defense.
I mean, Bud Dupree, man, like that was a really good signing. I think. Just underrated signing, I'd say. Not a lot of people are talking about it. Or like right now, Harold Landry. That guy had a breakout year. Dude was freaking awesome. I mean, I don't know. The pass rush is really good for the team, and defensively, their safeties Kevin Byard. I mean, dude is a stud. Did he make the Pro Bowl this year? I think he did. He should have if
He
he
was an
did.
All Pro. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he was an All Pro. Dude
He's the
was a
best safety
freaking
in the league.
stud. He's amazing. Kevin Byard, just amazing player. It's hard to like talk about because there're just so many like great players and good players on this defense, and it's such a big step forward just in general for this defense because last year was the reason they lost in the first round, and ironically, it was the offense that made them lose in the second round this year, which is kind of weird, right? I feel like that's a little weird. They kind of moved all their assets to the
Yeah,
defense.
I kind of feel like they may just kind of run it back. Like there was
I
the
think they're
Aaron
gonna run it
Rodgers
back.
rumor for a minute, but that got shot down.
Oh yeah, really fast.
Ryan Tannehill is probably not as bad as he showed in the playoff game, but I don't think he like this season he was not good. And I'm
Yeah.
looking at like I gotta look this up real quick, but I saw a statistic with Arthur Smith, like his career with and without. Okay, so Ryan Tannehill, I just found it. So Ryan Tannehill with Arthur Smith, he wins 69% of his games. He
Nice.
completes 67% of his passes. Touchdown percentage is at 7.2% to an interception percentage of about 1.7. Yards per attempt is about 8.6, which is really good.
Uh
Yards per
huh.
game about 234 and a 110.6 rating. So that's really good.
That is very
And
good.
now without Arthur Smith, the win percentage is at 51%.
Okay.
Completion percentage goes from 67 to 63%.
This is counting
Touchdown
Dolphins, right?
touchdown. Yeah, this is Dolphins years and this
Yeah,
year.
yeah. I figured. I just wanted to ask.
So touchdown percentage goes from 7.2 to 4.2%.
Mm-hmm.
Interception percentage goes from 1.7% to 2.6%. Yards per
Jeez.
attempt goes from 8.6 to 7. Yards per game goes from 234 to 230. And the big one, rating goes from 110 to 87.
Wow, that's a
Not
big
bad
drop.
numbers on the second one. Not bad numbers, but
No,
a decline. So
I think part of it is.
Todd Downing's got to go.
Oh,
That's
dude.
the thing.
Um, 2017, Todd Downing was the Raiders' offensive coordinator. After I don't remember what his name was, but it was someone. He did a good job the year before. Todd Downing got promoted. He was awful, and he's awful again. And I knew he was going to be awful, and no one wanted to believe me. But yeah, Todd Downing, he is so predictable in his play calling. So like you see in modern NFL with the Shanahan scheme, right? There's a lot of motions. There's just you see a lot of players moving. There's a lot of like checks at the line of scrimmage. There's a lot of mobility, right? Whenever the Titans like make a play on the line of scrimmage, they line up in that same position and they don't do anything. They just sit there. Like and maybe they audible or whatever, but like there's so many things you can audible out of if you're just gonna sit in the same freaking position. So like if you're a coach, right, a defensive coach, you see like 10 different sets that they line up in, right? And you look at it and you're like, okay, they run 4 different plays out of the set. And you're like, okay, so they're going to run 1 out of 4 of these plays. And it's like, and it makes it so easy to defensive coordinator to figure out exactly what to do. And you saw in the Bengals game, that's exactly what the Bengals defensive coordinator did. It felt like they knew what the plays were going to be when they did it. And that was ultimately what did them in for the entirety of the season. Whenever they played a good defensive coordinator or just someone who knew what they were doing, the Titans just kind of like they couldn't do anything on offense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think. Oh, God. I just don't see them as a Super Bowl contender. That's my problem. I
Yeah,
just don't
no, I
see
agree.
them. You're struggling to beat Joe Burrow with getting 9 sacks. I don't know if they can beat, like we saw them get dicked by Mahomes a couple years ago. We saw them lose
That was
to
some graphic
the Ravens
wordage.
last year. Good night, Mom. So yeah, I think it's overall just not great for them right now in terms of contending. But I do think they'll be good. Again, they'll probably win their division unless the Colts get a quarterback. But
I don't think they will. I think they'll run it back the same way they're doing it right now.
yeah. Speaking of the Colts, what a disaster at the end of the year.
Oh wait, Titans mid-year. I think it's a mid-year.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I predicted them to get the Super Bowl. Obviously, that was disappointing that they won out round one. But considering the
They still made the
circumstance,
first. Oh, they still got the first
yeah,
round
and
bye.
also they were without their best player for half the year.
That's true. They were injured a lot of the way,
So,
so I think it's mid. I think mid's fine.
all right, Lenny, the Colts.
Hmm. The Colts are. I honestly think that it's a quarterback away from being a really good team. Carson Wentz is a really interesting case study for me, and just personally, it's like he it's like you do you want to take the plays that he makes because he does make plays. He
He
doesn't
is
make a
the
lot
most
of them.
interesting quarterback to evaluate in the NFL, isn't he?
Yeah, I think it's the way I think about it is he makes plays for you like randomly, like it's a random thing. Like he just kind some whenever he feels like it's
He can win
almost
a game for you, but he can lose a game for you.
exactly. It's which Carson Wentz shows up that day, and it's so hard to explain. It's
I
just
don't know if
really
you can win
weird.
a Super Bowl like that, though.
He
I
okay,
know
so it's
Eli
like
Manning did that, but
he makes big plays when he can, and he makes absolutely god awful plays when he can. So it's like, do you want to take these bad plays with the good plays, or would you rather have a quarterback who's going to stay consistent and just do the same thing every week? That's kind of the problem with the Colts is that they had too many games where Carson Wentz was just bad. Like he just didn't do enough, and Jonathan Taylor, a running back, he had a really good year this year. He was amazing. Definitely the best running back performance this year. It's only
best
so much
running
a
back
running
in the
back can
league.
do for you. There's only so much a running back can do. You saw it in the Jags game, the last game they played this year. He didn't do anything in that game. The Jags defense just decided for some reason to play, and
I don't know what.
Carson Wentz was just neutered. He just couldn't do
Yeah,
anything. And ultimately, it's the receiving core. I talked about this with the Browns. I think it's similar with a lot of teams. It's the receiving core and the quarterback. They don't have a real playmaker, like a big game changer at receiver, and they have an inconsistent quarterback. And often that leads to average records if your everything else is pretty good. I I think that's just
right.
something that happens with these kind of rosters.
Yeah, and I think, look, I think they could use another receiver or a tight end, but
Tight end would be
defensive
nice.
defensively, it's interesting. I feel like they could use like one more of everything, except linebacker.
Maybe
But
defensive tackle. I think I'm good with the defensive tackles. Buckner.
like just in terms of like archetype, like I think they could use one more pass rusher,
Okay.
one
Yeah,
more
yeah.
run
I get what you mean.
defender,
I
like
get what you
one
mean.
more cover guy, you know.
I
And
get
I
what you
think to
mean
be
now.
said, they're already a pretty good defense. They're just not like elite. But who really is in the NFL? Not many. So
No.
the offense, I think, is the key to getting the potential out of the team. And we see, Carson Wentz when he's clicking is awesome, but how much is he clicking? And who's out? Do they make a trade for Russell Wilson? Obviously, they're not going to get Brady because Brady would never. I don't think Brady would never go to Peyton's house. But would they go after
Mm,
something like that? I don't know.
I don't think so. I think the Colts organization is kind of overrated.
I
I think
agree 100%.
it's like people think that they're
They're
amazing and that
very non-aggressive.
it's I don't know. We just saw two teams back to back win because they went aggressive and they wanted to win that year. And with the Colts, it's almost like they're afraid of failure,
No,
and
let's
they're
be honest.
just
Like, let's be honest. They were carried for 13 years by one of the two greatest quarterbacks ever. They were carried by
okay. I'm talking
Andrew
about
Luck
Frank
for
Reich era right
years.
now. I'm talking about
No,
Frank
but
Reich
they were
era.
also carried by Andrew Luck for years. Like, I'm just talking the
Yeah.
general management at the top. Like,
Oh, yeah, that too. That too.
organizationally, they've been carried by elite quarterback after elite quarterback, and now they're not quite doing as well. And
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
hard to
blame
win
Frank
without a good
Reich. I
quarterback.
blame the like this team is loaded with cap space every year. They don't do anything with it.
They sign like a bunch of backups every
Yeah,
year,
it's
and they just use
frustrating.
it for their rookie contracts. I honestly think if they made a big swing for Derek Carr last year, or made a big swing even for Aaron Rodgers, if he was on the market, or for Stafford, or any of these quarterbacks that were available, they were probably going to be contenders in the AFC. You saw the AFC fall
They
apart
won
before your
9
eyes.
games with a guy that like half the time couldn't throw a football.
We saw the AFC this year get torn apart. There wasn't a clear team that was
No,
going to win it, except for maybe the Bills and maybe the Chiefs. Those were the two ones that we thought going in. I thought personally would be the main contenders, but it really, I mean, the Bengals made it. I really don't think it's that much of a stretch to say the Colts with a quarterback like Derek Carr or Stafford, or I mean, like I know this is a stretch. Like I know I said it before, but like Rodgers would have been in the Super Bowl. I don't think it would have been that. I don't think it's that much of a stretch at all.
yeah. I mean, this team beat the Bills by 4 touchdowns the regular season.
They
So,
did. They beat my Niners too. I mean, that's an
so I
impressive win.
think they're. So, how would you say they're direct? Like, would you say they're trending up, trending down?
I think
This is such a
I
tough
think this
one
was a
too,
down
right?
year. I think this was a down year. I honestly do.
No, no,
When
no.
you
In
look,
terms of like going forward, I mean,
going forward, I think it's down. Honest, no, I think it's mid. I think it's mid because the way I look at it is now they don't have a first round pick because they traded for Carson Wentz, right? And now they're just stuck with a quarterback with all this dead cap that is kind of not like doing it for you. And now they're kind of realizing, like, well, maybe not swinging for the fences was not the right decision. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like they're feeling it. You can just kind of tell in the organization how they're
I think the
talking right
Luck
now.
retirement still has them rattled right now.
Yeah. If this, okay, another thing, how much of a stretch is it to say that this team with Andrew Luck, as we know Andrew Luck, like really good Andrew Luck, would have made the Super Bowl? I think it's not
I
far
think they
fetched at
could have
all.
made it. I think like 2018 Andrew Luck, that was his best season in my opinion. He I he's so I don't even want to talk about it cuz I like
You
Andrew
don't,
Luck, but
yeah, we don't have to talk about
they
it.
would be Super Bowl contenders with him. Let's move on to the Texans stink. I don't know why
Oh
they
boy.
hired Lovie Smith.
They picked up Lovie Smith because they knew he's going to be a puppet. That's it.
They
They knew
fired
he
David
was.
Culley for winning 4 games with a one win roster. You know,
Yeah. Fun fact.
Davis Mills has good. Davis
Fun
Mills
fact.
potential.
The Texans have won the same amount of games this year as they did with Deshaun Watson last year. Think about that. Um, what else? Uh, Davis Mills is like, and Brandon Cooks are like the two only big things on this team that I can say like, oh wow, I like that on their team. Um, I don't really know. Laramie Tunzel is I don't know what's up with Laramie Tunzel. He isn't playing like Laramie Tunzel anymore. He's not playing very good anymore. And uh
Is anyone playing well anymore?
Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks
That's
has
it.
been really good. I really want Brandon Cooks as a Raiders fan. I think he'd be amazing for our team. But yeah, Texans are a dumpster fire. I think they're trending up because it's hard to get any harder than
They're just trending
down.
nowhere at this point.
Mid. I think it's still mid.
No, it's just like they're trending like I don't even know. Like
Like this, but like here's a winning
they're
record,
like
and they're like all the way down here. They're like kind
they're
of
like they're not going to average. They're just staying bad. If that makes
they're
sense.
staying bad.
Yeah,
Uh, I think staying bad classifies as being worse, right?
I guess they're mid technically because lack of change. But
We can classify this as getting worse because I think commitment to being bad is getting worse.
yeah, Jacksonville. Speaking of
Wait,
bad,
real quick. Just what do you think about Davis Mills? Just like real quick, what do you think about future
I
wise?
like him. He's tall, sees the field well, doesn't have
Oh,
a
he's
bad
tall.
arm, can make some nice throws down the field, down the sideline. Um, Still has a lot to grow, obviously, but
I mean, he was playing for
he's
the
a starter
Texans.
in
Can't really
this
blame
league.
him that bad. Yeah,
Considering he
I
was
think
playing on the Texans too, I mean,
Davis Mills, solid, solid rookie year. Jaguar
uh,
time. Doug
Jacksonville,
Peterson. Doug Peterson. The
oh,
only thing that we're going to talk about this offseason, I think.
Doug Peterson coming back in, the Super Bowl winning coach from the 2017 Eagles, the
It
man.
scares me a little bit because I don't know how good Doug
You
Peterson
know
is
what
without
this
Frank
is,
Reich.
Lenny? They have a little bit of Bengal vibes to them. You know,
No, don't even say that. Don't even say that.
first overall pick
Joe Burrow
quarterback.
looked good his rookie season. Trevor Lawrence has looked
Uh,
terrible. I
I'm
don't want to
just
hear that
saying.
comparison,
No, I'm
bro.
kidding. But I'm obviously kidding. But
I
yeah,
don't want to
I
hear it.
think they're going to be more competitive this year.
It's hard to like not. I mean, dude, this whole season was just the like we were talking about. What was the first team we were talking about? The Browns, like how they just absolutely.
Yeah,
I retroact what I said before. This is the worst like down thing ever. I mean, their freaking coach was kicking their kicker. He said he was the head ball coach.
Urban
He was
Meyer's an
leaving. He
idiot.
would after
Look,
losses. He was like leaving the team to go hang out at like bars or whatever with that girl. I mean, like,
Jesus
ah,
Christ,
this is a whole mess. This is a whole mess.
Urban Meyer.
They
Oh
beat
my
the Colts
goodness,
though. They won with. They lost. They
I
ended
just
the year with
it's
a
so
W.
like I don't know how they won that game.
I do. I watched the game. You
They
want me to
beat
like
the
explain?
Bills.
They did beat the Bills. um,
Just,
that has to be the
all right,
luckiest thing
I don't even
ever.
want to talk about the Jags. Let's move on. They're
Okay, Jags are trending up because
they've
it's hard
got
to
I like
go.
Josh Allen. I like Miles Jack. I like
It
Robinson
just comes
in
down to
general.
having more players. I think they just have a lot of bad players. They just need
And
more
they have an
players.
actual NFL head coach which they
They
didn't
do.
this year. So
They do have a head coach. That's like that should be like the bar with any NFL team.
all
For
right,
the Jaguars, it's like,
let's
yeah, let's
stay
go.
in the state of Florida. Let's go to the NFC South. The NFC South champions. And whatever is left from Tom Brady's Tampa Bay Buccaneers is what we're about to discuss.
Oh boy.
It feels like the entire hype around this team has completely died.
Oh,
Completely died.
dude.
Does it
I don't.
not?
I don't. I don't
Does it
think I've
not?
heard someone talk about Tampa Bay as a roster, and since like they lost in the Rams game,
No,
I
Lenny,
don't.
since Brady's retirement, has this team even been discussed?
Not as like a contender. Heck no. Like the only thing I've heard.
Outside of when you're talking about Brady's career, has this team even been like? Does anybody even care about them anymore? Outside of
Uh,
Bucs fans,
some people care in terms of who's going to get traded where, who quarterback's going to
I
get
don't know, man.
moved.
I just feel like this team is done now. Not in terms of
Yeah,
like they're gonna be terrible, just in terms of like nobody cares about them anymore. You know, they're back to being the
it's
same
hard
old
to
Bucks.
it's hard to get replace Brady. It's just hard to replace Brady,
Now,
right?
I will say they are a prime spot for a Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, just
Do they
because
have the
they still
draft
have a ton of talent.
picks?
They're still very talented.
How much cap space do they have? Let me look it up.
I don't think it's a ton. I don't think it's the worst in the league either.
4.1.25. So they
So
have
they're gonna have to
enough.
free some stuff up. But yeah,
I think this year you saw a lot of their older players definitely regress. Last year we saw a really dominant front four, and it
we
was
didn't.
probably this year we didn't. I mean, in 2020 we had a really dominant front four. This year we didn't. Jason Pierre-Paul has completely fell off the hill. I don't even know what happened with that guy.
Sue
He was
regressed.
completely. I mean, Sue had a
Devin White was a
fine year.
no-show.
Devin White played okay in the playoffs, I thought.
He always does this though, but like he was a complete no-show in the regular season.
Yeah, it
Um,
felt like, yeah.
Tom Brady carried this team,
They were
honestly.
heavily injured
Like
this
he
year.
carried them against the Colts. He carried them against Dallas. He carried them against who else did they beat? Carried them against the Rams. You know, carried them against the Bills. They were in trouble against the Jets. This team was a disaster. It felt like all year, held together by one man,
They
and he's
still
now
won like
gone.
12 games
They
though.
won 13-4 and won a playoff
13
game,
games.
and they almost
They
beat the Super Bowl
they won
champions.
13 games and it
But
was
I
somehow a complete
think what we're
disaster.
seeing now with the team is a lot of the flaws that I predicted them to go 20-0. And I think a lot of the flaws, but there's some clear holes on this team now.
Their cornerback group
So
just
the
isn't
run
great.
game is inconsistent.
Hmm.
The receiver position is overrated, just in terms of
They're
depth.
gonna lose Chris Godwin too. I think
Godwin's probably gone. First of all,
he'll get
you
big money.
also saw once you took Godwin and AB out of that lineup, the receivers could not step up and make plays.
Yep.
Gronk's gone. I'm just gonna be honest, he's gone.
He might go to Joe Burrow though, right? They were
Maybe, or
talking about
maybe he
that
just goes to retirement and I don't know wherever
again.
Tom's living.
Who
But
knows?
that's a loss at tight end, and OJ Howard and Cam Brate both have been disappointing. I will say the one really good thing about this team, other than Brady last year, was I thought the offensive line was outstanding
I think you got
outside
to
of the
say
last
too
game.
though that Brady also definitely helped a lot with the offensive line. I don't know if they're going to be
Um,
nearly as dominant, or maybe or
I
not
think
nearly. I think
individually they're still gonna like. Ali Marpet was great before Brady. What
Tristan
came?
Wirfs is going to be
Tristan
good. We know
Wirfs is
that.
like as a talent is really awesome.
Hmm.
Maybe like a guy like Donovan Smith or Ryan Jensen aren't going to be as good.
Donovan Smith got completely exposed,
When
bro.
I
Oh my
just think when
god.
we look at like the relation, like the left tackle quarterback relationship and the center quarterback relationship are the one you're an offensive lineman, you know better than me, but I
Hmm.
think those are the ones that kind of strike me as the ones that are affected most.
I
And
think those are the ones that affect the overall offensive line production the most.
yeah, for sure. And they have the most to do with the quarterback.
Hmm.
But they do have a very good offensive line. The front seven is declining. Vita Vea and Shaq Barrett are awesome, but the other guys have declined. Levante David's getting up there in age now too. The secondary is getting better, which is actually good, right?
That is good. That
But
is a plus.
I don't know, man. I feel like this team, if they don't land a Russell Wilson or an Aaron Rodgers, I just feel like there's going to be a big step back. Like they're not winning 13 games again. Um,
I don't
because
know.
they lost. Tom Brady was legitimately
I like
arguably
Joe
the best quarterback.
Tryon. I think Joe Tryon's going to be a good player for them in their
Me
future. I
too.
think, but it's hard to say because it's just a lot of old players, a lot of players that aren't there
Here, I
anymore.
look at this
And
team and I don't fault them for it because if it was the Falcons, I would be in line with doing the complete same thing, which is selling your soul for a ring. But this team was built to win within 2 years with Tom Brady, right? That's what they
yes,
did when they signed him, and that's exactly
yes,
what they ended up doing. They won the Super Bowl in his
yes.
first year. I think Brady kind of saw the cracks in the armor in the second year. I think that Saints loss was really telling to him, and then the Jets loss with AB leaving.
They didn't lose, but
I think once
they lost as a
AB,
team.
I
They
think
lost as a
once
team.
AB left the stadium, that's when Brady made his decision. That's my theory. He was just
Antonio
like, I
Brown
cannot take this
and Cooper
anymore.
Cup. Antonio Brown, Cooper Cup, and Matthew Stafford are
Retiring,
single-handedly
right?
retired.
But
This kind of feels like when LeBron left the Miami Heat with the
yeah,
super
it
team,
does, it does.
and they're just going to be like this average to below average team for a while. Maybe they get like a Jimmy Butler down the line, or maybe they get like a Tyler
He
Hero or
made the
whatever. But we're not
finals
there
like
yet. We're
what 5 years later. So maybe the Bucks in 5 years from now are going to make the Super Bowl.
Who knows?
But
It's not going to be with
right, I
freaking
just
what's
think
his name, a coach.
I would still like they're still odds on, probably the favorite to win the division. But I still don't know
Uh,
who. Okay, so who's the let's paint the overall picture in
they're
the
going to
NFC
probably
South.
start. I think they're going to start Kyle Trask,
Who is the
possibly.
favorite in this division?
Personally, I would go the Falcons for future wise. I know it sounds bad, but I don't
Is
really
this out of
see.
faith in the Falcons, or
I'm
is it
gonna be honest. It's either the Falcons or the Saints for me.
you don't think it's Tampa Bay?
Saints have a chance. They have a okay. We'll talk about the Saints, but I think baseline Tampa Bay has an outside shot. Panthers have zero shot. Falcons and Saints are battling with it, and whoever has the better offseason, I think, will probably win the division.
I hate it with the Saints.
All right, what's the
I
next
still
team?
think Tampa Bay has the best roster in the division, like overall, but
Yeah, but they don't have a quarterback,
the
and it's
quarterback
ultimately
position's
going to
like the
cost them.
third worst. So
Yeah, I mean, I unless you want to count the Panthers quarterback trio.
I think odds on this is from a Falcons fan. I love the Falcons. I hate the Saints. You have to favor, I think, the Saints just because right now it looks like Jameis Winston's going to come back, and the roster overall, even without Sean Payton, is still stronger than Atlanta's. Matt Ryan is significantly better than every quarterback in this division, though, even at his age. So, like, that gives
Uh,
Atlanta still a shot. Um,
that's what I basically. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get to the Falcons
let's
or the
move into
Saints.
the Saints now, though.
Okay.
They went 9-8, lost Sean Payton,
Oh,
lost.
Bucks. Down year. This is
Oh yeah,
down. This is bad.
down
This
year,
is
down year.
bad. Yeah. This is bad. This is like
Remember where
big
you
red alarm.
were between 2003 and 2019. That's where you're going to be back to now.
Yep.
That's the thing.
Have fun.
You're back to
But yeah,
that.
the Saints. We're back. We're
It was
going
a
to the Saints now.
2 year pipe dream, but Saints. Um,
They're going to lose more
Decent year,
talent
all things
again.
considered, man. Like they were playing Ian Book at one point, and they still had a winning record. So, and if it hadn't been for that miracle comeback from the Niners against the Rams, they would have made the playoffs.
I don't.
So,
I don't personally, as a fan in general, and I've seen this studying the NFL with just teams. This just feels this is nuclear fallout to Drew Brees. This is just like
I
I
agree
think
with
this is
this.
life. This is life for Saints fans. I think they're going to be back to that team where we're not like taking them seriously anymore. I don't think they're not going to be
The bags are gonna
bad.
come back on the
I don't
heads.
I don't know how good Dennis Allen's going to be as their coach because personally, Dennis Allen was terrible for the Raiders back in something like 9, 8 years ago. But that was a long time ago. He's been a really good defensive coordinator for the Saints, but um, they're going to lose even more talent this offseason. Taysom Hill's gone. There's no reason they could keep him because he's. I think it's really funny actually. But like
Taysom Hill has zero use for this team without Sean
side
Payton.
yeah side rant. I just think it's really funny that Sean Payton was like, uh, he's like, pay this guy. I'm going to use him a lot, and then the year that they paid him, he's just like, all right, sorry, bye. I'm going to leave now. Bye.
Retiring.
He's left. But
Realistically, Brees
yeah,
should have stayed this year too.
I think you're going to see. Yeah, I think you're going to
Would have
see
been cool to see them leave together.
Jameis Winston. I don't know what to think of Jameis Winston right now. Right now, my thought with Jameis Winston is that he's a average to below average quarterback
Here's the thing,
who
Lenny.
played worse than his stats in the
He had
beginning of the year.
really good statistics last year,
He
but
didn't play like that
how do
though.
we know that's going to translate to this year without Sean Payton?
It's the way I think about it. He doesn't have Sean Payton now. I don't think he played as good as the stats even said to begin with.
Probably not.
And
No.
uh if I don't know if Michael Thomas is going to be on this team. I think he is. I'm pretty sure he
They
is,
said
but I
like a
don't
couple days ago
know.
they wanted him on it and they weren't willing to trade him.
Michael
But
Thomas is probably going to be on this team, but for now, I don't know, and that's just like a question mark for me. Like,
and
I'm
outside of
not like
him, they've only got Alvin Kamara, like literally.
yes, only Alvin Kamara, but
So I think the offensive line for this
yeah,
team's regressing. Like the interior
they're
is
getting
weak.
older. They're getting older.
Armstead, I think, is a free agent too.
Is he? Wait,
The
is he?
receivers outside of Thomas suck.
Yes,
The
very true.
defense is good, I'll say that, but it is getting a little older in the front. Cam Jordan's another year older.
Oh, he is a free agent. Bengals should pick him up, but yeah,
Demario
keep going.
Davis is a free agent, or Demario Davis is a older player now.
Mm-hmm.
So the Saints, I would favor them to win the division as of today, even though I don't feel good about it. But you know,
I think
this
losing a
division
generational play
sucks as a whole.
caller,
This is
the
going to be the worst
gener.
division of football next year.
I think losing a generational play caller in Sean Payton, like personally, the reason I'm picking the Falcons to win is going to hit harder than anyone thinks. It's It's Sean Payton, dude. I mean, there's no replacing that guy.
It's tough losing like your great like the two greatest men to ever like represent your franchise in
In the
back-to-back
last 2 years.
off seasons, right?
This is nuclear fallout for just all the years that
The two
they
I would
didn't
argue
get
the
it
two
done.
most important people in Saints history, and
Yep,
I've looked to this up.
New
Breeze
Orleans
is one,
history.
Payton's two. So yeah, let's move on to my Atlanta Falcons.
Wait, mid? Are we talking about mid year?
Yeah, probably mid, like expect a 500 type year.
Yeah, probably. From
The
right now, that's what we're looking
Falcons.
at.
This was the worst 7-win team last year of all time. They had, I think
Oh
they
man.
had a bottom 10 offense. They had a bottom 10 defense. They had like an easy strength of schedule. They had a bottom like 5 point differential. This team got blown out by every single good team they played except Buffalo. They
That was in the snow too. I don't even think that really counts.
yeah, and they beat a bunch of really bad teams by a few points. The only impressive wins this team actually had was Miami was a decent win looking back on it, and New Orleans was a decent win looking back
Wasn't
on
the
it.
Miami one in London?
No, that was a Jets game.
Oh, okay.
It
All
was in
right.
Miami, but the Falcons. Just I'll kind of give my 2 cents about it. I think they're going to keep Matt Ryan. I think he's making too much money right now for them to get rid of him. Um, he had a bad statistical season by his standards, but you got to take into account he was playing with by far the worst supporting cast of his career. Like he was throwing to
Yeah.
Russell Gage. I love Cordero Patterson, but come on, man, he's not Julio. Kyle
He's
Pitts
not
is a
even
rookie
Calvin
who
Ridley.
teams were just tripling. Just watch how Belichick game planned against him. Tell me you're supposed to throw to this guy. And I mean, it still wasn't a terrible. Like it was what
Do you
about
want to talk about
4,000
Calvin
yards,
Ridley basically just being like,
20
I can't
touchdowns,
handle it?
90 rating. Calvin Ridley bailed.
Do you
Forget
know
I
what's
said
up with
anything.
him? Do you know what's up with
Calvin
him?
Ridley left the team, but so what's up with him is he was actually the other day I saw he posted on his Instagram him and I think it was his wife or his girlfriend with his daughter, and
Hmm.
they were on a boat in Miami, and a bunch of idiot Falcons fans started saying, "Oh, he's not mentally tough. Quit on the team."
Oh my
You
god.
don't know what this guy went through, right?
Yeah, I
I
feel like
honestly, it wouldn't be
I don't know.
surprising to me either. Like I could see him leaving. I've kind of always felt he would leave, but I could see him staying. There is a world where that happens, so it's interesting there. But I do expect Matt Ryan to be back. He's look. Matt Ryan's had a great career. As we said, he'll more likely than not end up in a gold jacket. But he's what? He's turning 37 now. There's a little bit of worry
I heard
there.
he's older, I'm gonna be honest.
This was his age 36 season, so
Isn't he
he's
the
turning.
oldest quarterback active in the NFL right now?
I think it's Rogers and then Ryan.
Oh, no, you're right. It's Ryan first and then I know it's Rodgers first and then Ryan.
I
But
think he may have started the most games though.
I think if you're looking at this like in this perspective, I really like Arthur Smith as a coach. I think when he
Yeah,
could, he got Cordell Patterson to be the most productive he's ever been, like ever. He made him like a Debo Samuel kind of role. He kind of just he was creative with him.
poor
And
man Steve Samuel.
Kyle Pitts, I liked what I saw from him. He got the ball into his hand of his playmakers when he could, when they were there. I mean, uh, I think the reason that I am thinking the Falcons could probably win the division is because I just like the coaching staff and I like what they're doing with the roster right now. It feels like they have a direction, I
Just released
guess.
Dante Fowler the other day. So
Oh, you
what I
guys
like
did?
is it seems like the management, like the old, like Thomas Dimitrov would always kind of accept mediocrity towards the end. Doesn't seem like Terry Fontenot's doing that.
I think the road to
I will
redemption
say
for the
one thing with Kyle
Falcons.
Pitts is he's an amazing player. Like he's already an amazing player, but he only had one touchdown like this year. I
Mhm.
wonder. I don't know what it is with like all these amazingly talented players that play with us not having touchdowns. Like it was Julio,
It
and
could be a
now it's
Matt Ryan thing.
Hawkins. Maybe
I
it's a
don't
Matt
know.
Ryan thing, but Matt Ryan statistically was really good in the red zone this year. So I don't know what the problem is. Whether
Do
it's
they
a
run the
good
ball a
thing,
lot? I
whether
don't
it's
know.
a scheme thing, but we've had like 6 different coordinators under Ryan, and
How
it's
was
been
Roddy
the
White?
same
How is
result.
Roddy White in the red zone?
So you know what? But Kyle Pitts, maybe it was just a rookie year. Teams are focused on him. Obviously, things shrink in the red zone. So
You had a lot of attention put on him for a
yeah, for a
rookie
rookie
tight
too,
end.
still
Rookie tight
crossed a
end.
1,000 yards.
Um,
Um,
yeah. The
what I
Falcons,
think
their
this team,
defense.
what I think the
AJ
team lacks,
Terrell. We
right?
got to talk about AJ Terrell.
Yeah. So I was about to get to him, but what I
Mm-hmm.
think the team lacks is pass rush. Like I think that's pretty obvious. T.J.
Grady
Watt,
Jarrett's pretty good.
T.J. Watt had more sacks than the entire Atlanta Falcons, the team this year.
Oh, that's so tough. Tough, tough,
You know,
tough.
you know? But
That's very tough.
outside of Grady Jarrett, not much of a pass rush. Got to address that. Not working with a ton of money, but not quite as bad as it has been in the past. Like it's not to the point where we can't sign players. I'll put it like that.
You have room to operate.
Yeah. I look at it as AJ Terrell was one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL last year. Isaiah Oliver was having a good year. I think there's
The
some young
problem was
talent.
they passed like everywhere around AJ
Yeah,
Terrell.
that's the problem. So I look at the Falcons as a team. The problem with the team though is the all 4 of these schedules, because they're playing the NFC West and the AFC North as their like
Ooh.
rotational divisions. So like all 4 of the winner of this division is going to be like 9 wins. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you'd figure that out of these three teams, one of them is bound to break that winning record mark. I mean, it's not the NFC East here, right?
Yeah. So Falcons, I would say that's kind of I would say it was a mid-season, like in terms of maybe even like an upper tier mid-season, if that's like a thing.
You can see how they got better in aspects, but
Like
overall as a team, they kind of were the
it
same.
wasn't as disappointing as it's been the last couple of years. Like
They
in
won a lot
terms
of
of
close games this year. They won a lot of
'cause-
close games this year, which is weird. They don't usually do that.
yeah, maybe
Not
it
in the
was a
Super Bowl.
turnover in staff, but
That's another thing I was going to talk about. That's another like coaching thing I think I noticed too.
I think you know it's weird. As the talent on this team gets worse, the mentality gets better. Doesn't make any sense.
It's Lion syndrome. That's what we'll call it.
Yeah,
Dan Campbell
the
syndrome.
Falcons were basically a better Lions this year,
But
but
a Lions team that actually did something, even if it was only like 7 wins.
yeah, even though somehow they were in the playoff discussion until like the second last week
I
of the
told
season.
you like week 4 or something that like there was literally zero chance they were going to make the playoffs
And then like
eventually.
they stayed in there like the whole year
And
until
I
like
kept
those
telling
couple,
you, I literally kept telling you there's zero
even though
chance.
you,
And
you predicted them to beat the Niners.
I
But
did. And they would have still missed the playoffs. So
oh man. Okay. The Carolina Panthers. This team is an absolute disaster.
I don't
They
want to talk
have the
about this team
worst
very long.
returning head coach in the NFL, and they don't have a quarterback.
Their problem is on offense is they have 2 deep threats with a O line that can't pass block for 4 seconds and a quarterback who can't throw deep. That is it. That is the
Which one?
problem.
Sam
For the Pan
Darnold, Cam Newton, PJ Walker. Which one of them can't throw
Is
deep?
it weird to say I think PJ Walker should start?
No.
I would rather see PJ Walker out there and just like see him try to develop than Sam Darnold just like struggle out there and Cam Newton in his like
Bro,
sling trying to throw
Cam
the
Newton's
ball.
sad to watch at this point.
Yeah, no, this is
Sam
it's sad.
Darnold's a
Sad.
bum. This is just
Yeah, it's sad. I really like Cam Newton as a person. I've seen a lot of interviews of him in the last year, and he just seems like a really cool dude.
Matt Rule he said like if you can't see that this is working, like you just can't see it. He
Bro,
like
are you
Matt Rule
what are you
legitimately
on, bro? What is he
Matt
on? I
Matt
want
Rule
to.
legitimately thinks this is working right now. What
It's
he's
like,
doing.
oh my God. I don't know how anybody with eyeballs can look at this and be like, wow, this is really good. We're doing it. It's baffling. You talked about it at the end of the year to me. I was like, what are you talking about, bro? On defense, I really like their
Their defense
defense.
actually good.
It's actually good. It's weird to talk about because their team was really bad this year, outside of like the first 4 weeks. But they have
Also, the other thing
they
with
have
this
good
team, real
players.
quickly, Lenny, does it not feel like for like the last 4 years they've like gotten off the hot starts and then just completely fallen off?
I think that's like an actual stat. They've won like 3 or 4
Like they're
games
a
over the last.
really good starting team, and then they just go like this because they
They
were 3 and
go.
0, remember? And everyone was saying, "Oh, they're a good
It's like
team,"
a roller coaster. It goes like it goes all the way down.
except it never comes back up.
It never comes back up. That's really funny, actually. And
Um,
then it turns around all the way again for the next season. It
yeah,
goes,
just a rotating cycle.
yeah.
The defense, though, as you said, it's like Brian Burns, Derek Brown, Shaq Thompson,
I mean, you get what's his
J.C.
name?
Horn got hurt, but
Stephon Gilmore, even he had a really good
Stephon
year.
Gilmore, yeah. So Stephon Gilmore, I think, is a Hall of Famer. So
I mean, yeah,
this Panthers defense has talent. I think I do think that there's holes in it. Like I don't know if they necessarily played as well at the end of the year, but Hassan Reddick's there as well. He had a decent year. So
Derek Brown.
yeah, Derek Brown. They're a talented defense that's capable of keeping them in some games. And considering none of the three offense, like there's no prime Drew Brees offense, there's no prime Matt Ryan offense in this division anymore. So you can win some low scoring games in the division, but this team just isn't good enough offensively, even compared to their counterparts in the division. At least they have some relevance offensively.
Mm-hmm.
At least they can either throw the ball or block. This team can do neither. So
It's so
Christian
weird.
McCaffrey is going to run for 3 yards a carry, and people are going to say he sucks.
It's so weird to me for their offense. It's like they have these aspects I look at and I'm like, wow, that's really good. And I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. And then like they have these really bad spots and I'm like, oh my God, that is horrifically bad. Like that's some of the worst in the NFL. What do you
Yeah,
think about
so like
Robbie Anderson?
McCaffrey, I ranked entering the year as the best running back in the league. I
I think
forget
his
where
impact was shown this year too,
I had
though, because
Anderson
when he
and
was
Moore
injured, bro,
each in my top 32 receivers.
Anderson isn't a top 32 player anymore. I'm sorry. He
No,
isn't in the
not
top
anymore.
32.
Not
Not
after this
anymore.
year. Moore
No,
is
no, no,
DJ
no.
Moore is, but
Oh, yeah,
not.
DJ Moore's still good.
They
Robbie
don't have
Anderson's
a
not.
single tight end that anybody knows. Their offensive line is the worst in football.
They traded Dan Arnold to the
Their
Jaguars.
quarterback situation is the worst in football, arguably. It's up there.
The
One of the
yeah,
worst, bottom
they
three.
don't even have like a hope. It's just kind of like you know what you
It's
have and you just
either
have it.
make people have to suffer through watching Cam Newton in 2021, make people have to suffer through watching Sam Darnold,
Or
or
like see what
pretend
PJ
PJ Walker has
Walker has.
potential. You know,
PJ Walker, XFL legend.
sign Nick Mullins.
Sign Nick Mullins. See what happens, guys. Best thing that'll ever happen to your
Lenny
franchise.
would be happy.
I would be very happy.
Um,
I got Giddish when he played with the Browns that one year.
so, would you say this was a low season?
I think it was considering the talents they have at a lot of
I
positions. Their
agree.
defense is just has a lot of talent, and at
There's too much
positions on
talent for them to
offense,
be this bad.
they were like a really bad team this year, and
Yeah,
they weren't even
legitimately.
like last year. I remember thinking like midway through the year, oh man, if this team gets like a couple things,
They
they could be
lost. They
really
were better
competitive
last year.
next
They
year.
lost close games.
Yeah,
Like,
they lost a lot of close games at the beginning of the year. This year just kind of felt pathetic. It was kind of like they just were a team
they're
in the
just
NFL.
legitimately one of the worst teams in football.
Yep. At least they had Teddy Bridgewater last year, right? I think that was the difference, honestly.
Teddy Bridgewater was better than every quarterback they had. They have
Yes.
this year.
I don't think the gap was very close, honestly.
No. So, all right, Lenny. I think
So
that's where I'm gonna end it.
future real quick with the Panthers. What did we say?
If they get a new coach and they get
They're
a
not
new
going to get a new
quarterback,
coach.
they're not.
Management,
I don't think they're that far away, honestly.
it takes
Like
a really good. It's going
the
to take a really good
defense is
offseason.
set mostly. The
Yeah.
skill positions are set. They need a new offensive, so they need a new offensive line completely. You can get away without having a great tight end, and you need a new quarterback and you need a new coach. So that's like
That
the
doesn't
three
like
most. The three most
That big
important units
checklist.
of football, basically. If they address those, then they can actually be competitive.
Yeah, let's see. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll end
So
it here though.
that's going to be the end of this podcast. We'll do the next episode. We'll talk about the AFC. Would be not to AFC East, AFC West,
NFC
NFC
East.
East, NFC West. So we'll
Hmm.
go through those divisions. It is late at night, so I don't want to make myself or Lenny stay up any later.
It's a
So
Friday,
thanks,
bro.
Lenny, for joining, and thank you guys for watching. God bless.